Hi, and welcome back to Beyond the Monsters. Today I have Grace Ann with us here in Brentwood, Tennessee, and you're a local.
I am.
You are, so that makes it exciting. And today you're going to tell your story, right?
I would love to tell
She's
my
nervous.
story.
This is her first podcast.
It is my first podcast. I've done a lot of podcasts sitting on the other side while
Yes.
Struggle was
Yes.
interviewed. But yeah, he's called me out a couple of times on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I've kind of been on a podcast,
Yeah.
but you just never saw me. You just heard my voice.
Right.
But never actually,
Yeah, and
one-on-one.
she works for Struggle Jennings.
Yes.
Who you've been with for a while now, right?
It's 3 years, yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
So that's a relationship that's been built for sure.
It's been a long run.
Yeah.
But I am so grateful and so blessed for the opportunity.
And it's led you to like travel with him and tour with him. Plus
Yes.
Brantley Gilbert, Jelly Roll.
Yes. We did the Back Row Baptism tour. We were on the road for 81 days with Jelly Roll. And then we just did Brantley Gilbert. We were out with him for a while. And then a lot of headlining tours,
Right.
where he's got, because he owns Angels and Outlaws which is Records, which is his label. And then we have artists under him. So Struggle Jennings is obviously the boss, the big guy.
Right.
And then his daughter, Brianna Harness, she's a singer. And Caitlin Curtis, she's a singer. And then Bonnie Stewart. And then we have JD Huggins.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have like mixture.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would know that either, unless you're like really researching and getting in there to find out. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Wow.
And they're all phenomenal, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you to tell your story. I only know the little bits and pieces, but I want you to like start wherever you feel like starting because you have a lot of a story to tell.
I do.
And I don't want you to leave anything out, that you're comfortable talking about because you don't know who it could help.
Well, I don't know how long we have, but
we have as long as you want.
I'm from New York and I'm Italian, so they make fun of me. My stories can go on and on.
But that's okay. Trust me, we've had people in here that were like at 4 hours. We had to do part 2. Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Part 2, but no.
Yeah, and that's okay too. Whatever we need to do, because your full story I think is important because it's going to be very relatable.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I hope that whoever watches the story will either get something out of it or if I can help someone so that they can see that. My main thing is like there's so many people that I've come in contact with being blessed by working for Struggle Jennings that even they, and I'll get into that later, like this main part of this guy by the name of Shy Eubanks, he put a video out basically saying that I inspire him, but and I'll tell you a fun fact about him when we get to that part. But yeah, so I've definitely met a lot of people and I'm hoping that if they see my story, it can help someone. Just like with, Struggles music, people transpire into it because of the lyrics and the words. And there's so many comments that come in, or even, when we're out on tour, I get to do the meet and greets with him. So I'm like right up close and personal.
Yeah.
And it's like he'll sit there for hours because people just tell him stories and he'll never shun them away. I'm like, come on, Struggle, we got to go.
Yeah.
Like, no, Grace Ann, just wait.
And well, you said he has the biggest heart.
He has such a big heart. You have no idea. I wish I wish people can just be me, and just see every day, people don't see what he does behind the scenes. They don't see what he does for not only his family, his team, others, fans, they don't see that, but I get to see it every day and it's such a blessing.
Oh,
yeah. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful to his wife. I'm grateful to his kids. Like they didn't have to accept me. I'm nobody. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to cry. I know
that's okay.
Cry,
you already started to make us cry already, girl. Just, what, kind of within 5 minutes?
Yeah, but I mean, just okay, let me just say this. I am writing a book.
Okay.
and I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm hoping that it comes out by next year. He named it. He gave me the title, and it's called Just Drive, Grace Ann. Yeah, that's what he named it. So,
Oh,
because I am his personal driver,
right,
and I'll tell you that story about how me and him even became about,
right.
which is a fun fact. I'm not sure where you want me to
Yeah, let's
start, but
start where do you want to start? How was childhood and stuff? Did anything
oh,
lead
oh
to
God, we're going
addiction or
there.
to
Okay,
you can, yeah,
yeah, no,
absolutely.
no,
But
definitely.
it's the base of,
Yeah,
you
for sure, of
know,
who I am.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yes, yes.
So my mom and dad would probably still be married today if they were alive. But they were married, they got married in let me see, my sister was born in 66. 68 they were married. Um, all the way up until my dad passed away in 2014
Mhm.
and my mom passed away in 2021.
Oh,
So up in from 68 to 2014 they were happily married.
wow.
So I
Okay.
had I was daddy's little girl. Um, but I had a great growing up. I blame Struggle makes fun of me all the time because I am not domesticated at all. I say it, I'm not domesticized. But so I was spoiled,
Okay.
my parents, cooked for me, cleaned for me. Um, all I did was really work. That I am good at.
Okay.
I've always been a hard worker. Bought me all kinds of cars and, lived in Coral Springs, which is,
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
richy rich, stuff
Right.
like that. But um, my sister, her name is Lisa. She's 7 years older than me. Um, and so we just happy, normal
One
American
sister,
family.
just one
Yeah, just
sister.
one
So,
sister.
okay.
Yeah. And so then basically just, lived in Florida. Well, I was born in New York, and
Hmm.
then we moved when I was 11. I
Right.
was, obviously too young to not say I didn't wanna
Right.
move, so we
Right.
moved to Florida. We lived in Florida, beautiful. I love Florida. Um, and then just had a great life, went to high school, got pregnant when I was 19, so I did not, graduate,
Hmm.
but, they had sent me to, it was like a back then, God, it was 92. So it's been
Okay.
a long
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but they had like this school for pregnant girls.
Oh.
And so I made it all the way up into 12th grade. And then I was so big I couldn't even fit in the desk anymore. So they basically were like, yeah, you got to go to this school. So
Yeah.
and I went over there and I was just like, I don't need this. Like I know I could take the test. So I literally walked out of Coconut Creek High School in Coconut Creek, Florida, across to Atlantic Tech,
Mm.
and said I wanted to take my GED.
Right.
And I took the test, passed with flying colors, and I did get to walk the stage. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
shun GED.
Right. Right.
People have their opinions
Same.
on high school diploma or GED. As long as you get
I did it too,
something,
and
I
got a
think it's
master's
good.
after that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Like,
sure.
I've been there. Yep.
Yeah. So, but at 18 years old, this is how I got started in the music industry. This is probably
Okay.
how it'll play out, which will make sense. So, my mom and dad were the biggest fans of Willie Nelson.
Okay.
So, I actually knew Waylon Jennings before I even knew who Struggle Jennings was.
Okay.
So, so my mom and dad would take me to Willie Nelson's concerts.
Oh.
And we would, go watch him or whatever. So it was my 18th birthday. And he's called the Redheaded Stranger. That he has a bus,
Mhm.
with the Redheaded Stranger on it. And so we would bring him these Yosemite Sam dolls with the big red mustache.
Oh, really?
And on
That's
it,
awesome.
I would like write like my name, my
Yeah.
phone number,
Right.
we love you, things like that. And during On the Road Again, I would throw the doll, to him, and
Right.
he would catch it, and he sits it right next to him while he performs the rest of his show.
Oh.
So I had put, because his birthday, I don't know if you know anything about him, but fun fact, he has two birthdays. Yeah. So Willie was born on April 29th at like 11:59 and 59 seconds. But way back then, they didn't record it. You had to like go somewhere else to like record the date.
Yeah.
So by the time they did that, it was April
The
30th.
30th.
So he celebrates the 29th and the 30th, right?
That's
so
smart.
mine is April 13th.
Oh.
So on the doll that day, I had wrote, it's my birthday. I'm 18 years old. I want to wish you a happy birthday, et cetera, et cetera.
So you just had a birthday.
Yes.
Yay. Happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm 52.
I'm the 23rd.
Ooh,
so we're close, but you're Aries, right?
Yeah.
I'm the good old Taurus.
Okay.
All the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not really into like the zodiac thing.
I only know
anything.
My own. That's
yeah.
it. I know. Yeah, the bull. That's about all I know. Yeah. Yeah.
What am I? The ram, right?
She be Aries.
Yeah, I think it's the ram,
Aries.
Right? I think. I don't know.
See, we're not too in tune with that
either. See? But anyway, make a long story short. So I'm sitting there, and Willie's bodyguard comes up to me and says, Willie wants to see you backstage after the show. And I was like, okay. So I tell my mom and my dad. They're like, yeah, right. Whatever. And blew it off. So I wasn't going to blow it off.
No.
So I went to the stage and they brought me back there. And like, I have pictures somewhere, God, I have to research them. But he walks down the stairs. I'm just standing there, and he walks down. He wishes me happy birthday and thanks me for the doll. And finally, I was just like, my parents don't believe me. Can we please get them back here? Because they are the fans,
Right.
And sure enough, they went and they got my mom and dad. My mom and dad came back, and they finally believed me.
Were they like floored?
Oh, they were floored. Yeah. It was great. It was great. And he just took a liking to us. Like, I don't know why, but he did.
Right.
And like, we just kept going to, show after show. And then in 92, Hurricane Andrew came through, flattened Dade County or Dade City. And my phone rings and I answer it. And on the other end, it's a guy saying, hey, it's Willie. I'm just calling to check on you.
Stop.
And I don't know if I can say this. You might have to bleep this out, but I'm like, you're a fucking liar.
Right? No, you have to.
So Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, there's no freaking way.
Right? There's no way. Yeah. So he's like, no, you came to a show, but. So finally, after I called him an effing liar 1,000 times, finally it clicked. I'm like, oh my God, this is really him. Right. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I thought this was a prank. And he's like, no, I was just calling to check on you. I heard about, making sure you guys were safe. And so like I said, he just took a liking to us. And then when he went through that whole farm aid thing and the tax evasion, or not tax evasion, but whatever the tax thing was, he had to go to Branson, Missouri. And he did 2 shows a day at the Ozark Theater. And so me and my mom and my dad, like, basically we didn't live there, but we stayed there for that whole, like, several months.
Yeah.
And we would go to both shows. Yeah. And we got to know his bus driver, Gates Moore, and all, his whole band.
Yeah, that's an awesome story.
Yeah. It was great. And then Waylon, when they did the Highwaymen, tour, I was there. I seen all fun stuff with them. Like, I remember this one time I actually told Struggle about this because Struggle used to go on the road with Waylon as well. Because his mom, Jenny Eddy, was backup singer for Waylon. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful lady. Oh, love her. So we go to a Highwayman tour show, and Waylon's in one hotel and Willie's in the other, like, and they're across from each other. And there's this ruckus, and they're like literally fighting back and forth because Willie says that he needs to go out, that Waylon needs to go out before him on stage. And Waylon's like, no, you're going out before me or whatever. But they came out and it was a great show. But yeah, I told Struggle that story too. But then from there, so like I got into, music and stuff. And then I was old enough, and I moved out of my mom and dad's house. I bought my first.
You're still in Florida.
Yeah, I'm still in Florida.
Okay.
I moved out. So I got pregnant at 19 with my oldest son, Cody, who's now passed away. And I'll tell you that story too. But so I moved out. I bought my own trailer. It was a double wide trailer, Margate, Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no, I'm sorry, North Lauderdale. It was on the border of Margate, but the address was North Lauderdale.
Right.
So I lived there, and then so my son's father, that I got my firstborn that I got pregnant with, I've always been obese.
Okay.
And I found out I was pregnant, and I told him I was pregnant, and he wanted nothing to do with me because I was obese. And he wasn't around. So I had Cody by myself. And then I met my first husband, which was he was Guatemalan. His name was Mario. But so I got married to him, and we tried for 8 years to get pregnant. But being obese, I couldn't get pregnant. So his nephew, who lived with us, got a girl pregnant by the name of Claudia. She had 13 kids and had custody of none of them. So when she got pregnant, defects came in, and they wanted to take the baby. His name was Andrew, little boy. And so they were putting the baby up for adoption. So the lady that adopted Andrew, she got pregnant again. So I called the same lady up, and I was like, hey, because Andrew was 9 months old, and they were wanting a newborn. So I called her up, and I was like, hey, I know you wanted a newborn, but you took Andrew. I was like, she's pregnant again. Would you want this baby? And she's like, no, we're really happy, with him. But my sister can't have any kids. So maybe we could have her do it, and then they can at least grow up together.
Right.
I was like, okay, great.
Siblings. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So she adopted Matthew.
Okay.
So then she got pregnant again. And this is when she got pregnant with my husband at the time's, his nephew. He was the father. And I found out it was a little girl. And I was like, oh, we're keeping this one.
Right.
I'm keeping this one.
Right.
So it was a family adoption. So it wasn't,
Right.
anything. They just basically surrendered their rights, and she lived with me the entire time. And that's my daughter, Christina. So, and I don't, it's nothing like for me to say like I adopted my daughter. It's it feels the same. It feels like I birthed her. Yeah. Just like me and my sister. Me and my sister are we have the same mom, different dads.
Okay.
But I would never say, hey, this is my half sister.
Right.
That we just weren't raised like that.
My daughters are like that too. They have different dads, but they're sisters. They never say, oh, like you just said. No, it's not half. It's not anything. It's
exactly.
Sisters.
Yeah. So that's how I got my daughter. And then I have no idea where I was going with this story.
We were talking about the kid. So you got married. So now you're married to this guy. Now you guys just adopted
and moving in
the
where
daughter.
I lived. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
I got you, girl. I got you.
I'm so sorry. So anyway, so then that was Christina. And then I lost weight.
Okay.
And so I was married to him for 8 years. We tried to get pregnant for 8 years. I couldn't. I adopted Christina. I lost all my weight. And here comes Jamie, the father of Cody, who didn't want anything to do with me because I was obese. Well, now that I lost all this weight, he wanted to be with me. And like a dummy, it was my first love.
Yeah.
So I got with him.
That's tough. Yeah.
We got married on a Friday. I had lost my weight. Got married on a Friday. I was pregnant by Monday, which is but I did do infertility.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's my youngest son, Kane.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got pregnant with him. So both my boys have the same dad.
Okay.
And then my daughter I adopted.
Right. Right.
He never adopted her.
Okay.
But he was very abusive. Mentally, physically, emotionally, verbally abusive.
Was he initially with that first time you got pregnant? Was he abusive then, or this was more?
Well, so when I got pregnant the first time, he's just a terrible human.
Okay.
So when I got pregnant with Cody, my oldest, found out I was pregnant. I didn't find out I was pregnant until I was 5 months pregnant. So I was obese.
Oh, okay.
And back then they had those Planned Parenthood or
Yes.
those clinics or
Right.
whatever. So they would give you free pregnancy test.
Right.
So I go into the pregnancy place and, I did a urine test and it
Right.
came out negative.
Oh.
So they said, come back next month. So I went back next month and it came out negative. I didn't have enough HCG in
Yeah,
me or whatever.
HCG, yeah.
So go back again and I was like, look, I know my body. I
Right.
know I'm pregnant. How about they write on the little file, teen wants to be pregnant. I'm like, I don't want to be pregnant.
Like,
I know I'm pregnant.
damn
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So they're like, all right, well, if you don't, get your menstrual by next month, we'll give you a blood test. They didn't want to do it because that's expensive,
Right. Right.
And so finally I come back and they're like, oh, you're pregnant. I'm like, I told you I was pregnant. And come to find out I was 5 months pregnant.
Wow.
So I told him immediately and he took off to the army. Yeah. And
So he wasn't really around long enough to show his
no,
other colors
no. So
other
he
than
came
abandoning.
around on the first Mother's Day.
Okay.
So Cody was born October 6th. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 7 months old was
Okay.
the first time he saw his son. He
Okay.
called me up, said he wanted to see him, and I didn't deny him.
Right.
You weren't there for the birth, but he's still your son. I never wanted my kids. I wanted them to see their
Right.
dad. I
Right.
never wanted me to say,
You to be
if
the
you wanted to be a
reason.
right, exactly.
Right.
So, so I let him see him every time he asked for him. I let him see him, never let him keep him,
Right.
but I let him see him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had lost that weight, now he wants to be a part of my life. And, like I said, he was my first love. So I agreed. We got married on Friday, got pregnant with Kane, and we moved to North Carolina.
Okay.
And now this is the good part. So
Parents are staying in Florida
Yeah.
right now. Now you're moving with the kids to
Yeah, well, I was pregnant with Kane. He
Okay.
didn't want Kane born in Florida. So we moved to North Carolina.
But the other two went with you too.
Oh, yeah,
right?
for
The other
sure.
two. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I've
Okay.
never not had, even
your
when I went
kid.
to prison, I
Yeah.
never not had custody of my kids.
Okay,
Never
good.
lost my kids. He, on the other hand, had to do all sorts of parenting classes and drug stuff and everything.
Right.
So we moved to North Carolina and he was always on drugs, whether it was cocaine, marijuana, alcohol, always. And I had dabbled when I was in high school with crack.
Okay.
And sad to say, I liked it then, but I would never do it again. But anyway, long story short, we moved to North Carolina. Now I had been pregnant and I had Kane, and every day he was doing cocaine powder form, So I was like, if you're doing this, bring me home something,
Right.
So, and I got hooked on crack. Both of us did for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And
you didn't even have your parents there to help or
no,
anything. Okay.
no, nothing. So literally, but I was a functioning crackhead.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go to work. I would make $100 a day. I worked at a store. I was the manager. So I would get the kids up. I would get them to school. I would go to work. I would work all day. And as soon as I got off, he would have $100 worth of crack and we would go home and I would literally I couldn't associate. I had to hide.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I sat in my room, for however long it took to smoke. And then I'd go to sleep and I would wake up and I'd go get the
Repeat.
kids and yeah. And then the final straw in that era of my life was he's very, like I said, very mean, very abusive. It was, when we didn't have drugs, he would get very angry.
Right.
So God, Christina must have been, she was in school, so maybe she was 5 or 6. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So he's physical, with you.
oh,
Physical.
so
The
physical.
kids too, or
Not so much he yelled at them.
yeah.
He was never really a beater or hitter of the kids because I'd kill him.
Right.
If I could say that.
No,
But
you can.
but it was always we'd all wake up and he was very mean, like just
edgy and
yelling,
just pissy.
screaming,
Yeah, yeah.
just everything. So this one morning, this is when I told him, it's me or the drugs. I'm leaving and I'm done, and quit cold turkey. Actually, I relapsed one time after that, but I'll tell you that story too. But so it was woke up, got the kids ready. He would watch the baby, which was Kane. He was in a car seat at the time, and Christina and Cody would get in the car, and I had a minivan at the time, and there was no drugs. He was in a bad mood. I'm getting in the car, and Cody's in the front seat, and he comes out. I can see it still to this day, years later. He comes out of the door, and there was a pointed shovel on the porch right next to the door. And Cody's in the front seat. Christina's coming to the car. His door's open. He takes the shovel and he throws it at my car, and it hits my windshield. Like, doesn't hit me, but breaks my windshield. I slam the car in reverse, and I thought my son Cody was reaching for the door to close it. I put it in reverse. I drive off, and he was reaching for my daughter. I ran her over. Yes. And so I jump out of the car and
Oh my God.
sorry. I jump out of the car and I pick her up and she's just limp. And I put her in the back of the car and we speed off, and he's like still cursing, still yelling, still like coming after me. And I get to the hospital and I rush in and I tell them, I obviously left out the drug part, but I
Sure.
said that I ran her over, and they rush her. They take all kinds of x-rays and this, that, and the other. And now the doctor comes to me and he says, "Ma'am, what kind of car ran her over?" And I said, "It was a minivan." And he said, "No, there's not a mark on her. There's nothing wrong with this child." And I was like, "I'm telling you, I ran her over." Now, people will say that, like, maybe I turned the wheel. Me personally, God lifted that van up off of her.
Oh my God. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because she was limp and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. She was just limp. But yeah, so that was it. I never, I, I packed up. I got a U-Haul. I packed up and I moved back. I was going to Alabama, is where we were headed, and never made it. I made it as far as Georgia. And so went, found a place in Georgia, and we were both clean. Everything was great. We were both clean. And I relapsed
wait, he
once.
was clean. He went with you?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Oh
took him.
shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I took him with me.
Okay.
And so we were going to Alabama, never made it to Alabama, found a place in Georgia. All of us, me, him, and the kids.
Okay.
And my dope dealer cried when I left, because obviously I bought him a house probably. But yeah, never looked back. I stayed clean all the way up until so that God, I can't remember. I don't know dates,
No,
but
that's okay.
but um but yeah, so I stayed clean, and I had relapsed one time. And it was on my son that passed away, his wedding anniversary.
Mm.
He had gotten married, and then his 1 year anniversary. And this is what absolutely made me, you couldn't pay me $1 million, $10 million. I would never touch it again. I had gone out and I was smoking, and I had called my son. He didn't answer, but I was so high, I didn't hang the phone up. So on his voicemail, he hears me. "I can't get a hit. It's not working. Give me another hit. No, give it to me. Let me." And he's like, "Mom, not only did you relapse, but it was my 1 year anniversary." That was it for me. I pray to God, and I stopped. Never done it. Never will.
He
ever.
called you out, and then you're
Yeah.
just like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah. It was terrible. So, so we lived in uh, Lake Wildwood is the first
okay.
place that I lived in Georgia. And
What made you guys pick Georgia?
we ran out of money. We were running, like I had just enough to like get a place. We had got off a fun story.
Mm.
I was looking for, when we landed there, I was looking through you know, in the newspaper, article, places for rent and stuff like that,
Right.
or online or
Right.
whatever. And like all the description was beautiful home, nice schools, no bars on windows. Like, no bars on windows. Where are you moving me to? Well, that was
Right.
Macon. That's where I ended up. That's where
Okay.
my trouble started.
Okay.
And I went to prison. But so it went from me not doing any drugs, but I had gotten into an accident in Florida.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure you know, Florida is a pill mill.
Oh, yes.
And I became addicted to pain pills. So it's like I swapped one for another.
Right. Right.
But so I was addicted to pain, and he was addicted to pain pills. So I mean, he did all the hard drugs. He did the marijuana. He did the alcohol. He
Right.
did the pain pills. So, but so I was addicted to pain pills. I still stayed on my pain pills, but I wasn't abusing them at that point. I was taking them as prescribed.
Okay.
I didn't know any better. So, and then so we're in Georgia, and the final straw with him was we moved from Lake Wildwood out to Byron, and my son is a brittle diabetic, the one that
Okay.
passed away.
Okay.
To go back, tell you that story real quick. When we were living in Florida, we went on like a little family vacation or whatever. We went out to dinner, and we go back to the hotel. My son is profusely throwing up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, bad chicken. He's the only one that ate chicken.
Right.
But so I'm feeding him as a mom. I'm feeding him Gatorade. I'm feeding him rice. I'm
Right.
feeding him,
Right.
everything, because I think,
Yeah.
he's the brat diet or whatever.
Right.
So meanwhile, I'm worsening the kid because I'm giving him sugar,
Right. Right.
So we cut the vacation short. We go home. He goes to sleep that night. And in the middle of the night, I hear like a big thud. And I wake up, and he's standing in front of me, but he's looking right through me. I'm like, something is not right here. So I put him in the car, I rush him to the hospital, get there, and I was pregnant with Kane. So I bring him into the hospital, and they do all the tests that they have to do or whatever. And they're like, how long has your son been a diabetic? I'm like, my son's not a
What are you
diabetic.
talking about? Yeah.
He's not diabetic. They said, ma'am, your son is definitely diabetic. Well, they had to do blood gases because the meter wouldn't read. He was 1,049. They told me that he was basically a walking dead person.
Yeah.
That he was one step away from diabetic coma.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Macon. So we moved from Lake Wildwood to Byron.
Okay.
I had gained my weight back. I got pregnant. I had Kane.
Mm-hmm.
So I got heavy again. This is the one that didn't want nothing to do with me when I was heavy. So, but I was born Catholic. I was raised Catholic. We don't believe in divorce.
Right.
So I tried everything I could to make our marriage work.
Right.
I'm sleeping in the bedroom. He's sleeping on the couch. Of course, he would find his way into the bedroom when he wanted to.
Right.
And things happened, whatever. It was more of me taking care of him, etc. And then he would leave. Next couple days or whatever, he'd come in again. And then finally, I had enough of it. And I was like, hello, like, I'd like to get taken care of too. I don't know if we could put this on there, but
Right. No, no, it's fine.
I would like to,
Yeah.
be taken care of too. And he looked me dead in my eyes and he says, you don't turn me on. And I was like, oh, okay, we're getting a divorce.
Yeah.
So the next morning, I went to go to the doctor to get my pills. My oldest son that passed away is there. And I call him up and I was like, look, your dad's leaving. We're getting a divorce. I need you to make sure he doesn't take any of our stuff. Cause I had like NASCAR stuff, like just stuff
Right.
that, that I collected,
Yeah.
through years that I know he'd he'd steal. So he's like, no, Mom, Dad's not leaving. I'm like, Cody, I'm telling you, your dad's leaving. I was like, please just watch our stuff. Oh my God, Mom, Dad's leaving. I'm like, I told you. He got in a taxi. He got a taxi, got all his stuff, didn't even kiss the kids goodbye. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then here I go, a dummy again. I move from Byron to Macon. And again, still on the pain pills.
Not with him, though.
Not with him.
Okay.
However, while I'm in Macon, he calls me up, and here's the sucker I am. So I got a great job. It's right around the corner from you. Can I please just come stay on the couch? And I did. I let him stay on the couch. And again, I never, wanted to not let the kids have a relationship. I let them make their decision. Right. One time, Cody, I don't even remember how old he was, but we're driving to Virginia to go be with my parents for their birthday, and he'd wanted to see Cody. So Cody was old enough at this point, and I was like, your dad wants to see you. We got 3 exits for you to make a decision if you want me to pull off. And he's like, nope. And I was like, okay. So like 2 exits now. I'm like, Cody, are you sure you don't want me to just pull off so you can see your dad? He would like to see you. He's like, nope, I don't want to see him. Finally, we're at the exit. I'm like, Cody, this is the last chance. I can't turn around. Like, we're on a time schedule. Mommy's got to go. Do you want me to? I'll pull off right now. We can just say hello and we'll get back in the car. And this is what he does as we drive by the exit.
Now he knows.
Yeah. And so I was just like, okay, I'm not making that choice.
Right.
You are.
Right.
But anyway, so I moved to Macon. He comes in, he stays on the couch or whatever. And now I'm getting worse with the pain pills. He's selling me his pain pills because I'm running out of pain pills. It took me 6 Percocet 10 325s just to get out of bed at once. Wow. Yeah. So at that point, I was not taking them to get high anymore. I was just taking them not to get pill sick.
Right. Just to kind of function.
Yes. Yeah. But the doctors were like prescribing them like candy. All you had to do is go in and tell them, oh, this hurts. Oh, that hurts. Yep. You can't detect back pain.
Yep.
So then I started snorting Roxy 30s. Yeah. About 5 Roxy 30s a day on top of taking the 6 Percocets at a time every 3 hours.
Okay.
So that's very expensive.
Wow. Yeah.
So this is where my trouble started. I was working for a company called 1-800-Flowers.com. And I would take orders from people who would willingly give me their credit card. So I was legally allowed to have their information because I worked for them.
Right.
I just wasn't legally allowed to use their information.
Right.
Which is what I was doing.
Right.
So basically I was using other people's credit cards.
Okay.
I would pay your cell phone bill, and your cell phone bill was $100. Well, you would give me $50.
Right.
So you get a cheaper thing, and now I have $50 to go buy 2 pills. Things of that nature. This went on for a really long time. But then I was also on probation for driving on a suspended license. I was 41 years old when I originally got my first ever in trouble. I was 41 years old.
Wow.
And so the worst thing on my record was driving on a suspended license.
Okay.
So, but when they pulled me over, they put me on probation, which to me, I was like, oh, I don't do drugs. I've been clean at this point, so probation is nothing to me.
Right.
And I have prescription for my pills, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So I'm on probation for driving on a suspended license. Need a pill. Go out and drive again. They get me again. So now I'm on probation. They arrest me because that's a violation of probation.
Yeah.
For driving on a suspended license.
Right.
So they bring me down to the jail, And the first time they did arrest me also, my son, the one that passed away, put his house up, property bond, got me out right away.
Right.
So that's what put me on probation, when they got me for driving on a suspended license. And then I went to court, got put on probation. The second time I drive, they pull me over. They did find a bottle of pills. But what I would do is I would only take what I needed for that day, and I put it in my son's bottle. He was prescribed them also. So they got me for my pills in my son's bottle, but they dropped that charge because obviously I could prove that they were mine. And I just picked up his bottle instead. So they bring me down. They book me. And, I'm in a holding cell. Never actually been in jail yet, ever in my life. Just in a holding cell. I call my kid and I'm like, they got me, you got to come get me. So he's like, I found out years later that this was all a lie. But what he told me was that he went down to my probation officer because I was like, pay it off, get me off probation, whatever you can do. Like I'm fiending in there. Like I need a pill, like get me out.
Yeah.
So he's like, I tried. They won't let me bond you. You're on a 60-day hold. And I'm like freaking out now. 60 days with no pills. Like I'm gonna die, So they said that, he couldn't get me out or whatever. Years later, I found out he thought that was the best for me, was to stay in there and sober up. So he never even did that. But that was the story I had gotten then. So finally, after I guess he thought I sat for a while, I was like, look.
So you had to go through withdraw all the things.
No, because he only let me sit for a little while. It was still, I had taken so much, it was still in my system. But so I call him up, and this is where I tie my son into my RICO act. I call him up and I was like, look, go in my room. I have a book full of credit cards. Put some money on my books. Get me a lawyer and get me out of here. And he did. He's my son. And sorry.
It's okay. There's tissues right there.
I was gonna need a whole box. So he put the money on my books, and obviously they had put me in the back now because I took time to be able to get a lawyer to get out of there. And while I'm in there, my pill lady's in there that I buy pills from. And she's like, I know you're getting out. She's like, if you'll just pay my bond, I'll pay you back in pills. Well, I know I have no money. The only way I can get money is off these credit cards. I'm going to need pills. And she's willing to not only give me, the pills, but, it's not my money, So I was like, I'm not bonding you out, but I'll put the money on your books if you can have someone bond you out. Because that's how it worked. You put the money on the books. They did the bond right from the books. And you got out. So sure enough, they put the money on my books. And so if you're there, you can release the money from your books. But what I didn't know, never being in jail before, it has to be done within 72 hours. Well, I go to the captain of the jail and I was like, look, I know that, it's 72 hours, but this is for my lawyer. And he's like, oh, well, if it's for your lawyer, we'll just write your lawyer a check. So now, not only did I put bad money with bad credit cards on my books, now I've got the captain. I've manipulated the captain of the jail to write this check to the lawyer. Well, the lawyer was only charging me $750. Well, there was $550 extra. So now the lawyer cashes the check, takes his $750 and gives the $550 to my son. So now the lawyer's involved.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get out, go straight to my pill lady, and she got out and she gives me, the pills. But her running partner is in there and sees what's going on. And she calls me up on the phone. Now I'm home. Okay. High on pills. She calls me up and she's like, I know what I know how I know you got out. I know you got out. I can't get out. I'm on a DUI, but I'm hungry. She's like, please just put money on my books. My way of thinking, I thought, they're just going to write it off as credit card fraud. They're not going to have to pay for it. I'm not hurting anyone, but I'm helping someone eat. That was my heart.
Right.
It's nobody do this.
Right.
I don't know which camera I'm supposed to look at, but nobody do this.
Yeah.
But that was my way of thinking. That was, what I was thinking. So I did it.
Well, and you were also in active addiction. So yeah.
And so, but with that, I don't blame the drugs for what I did when when I got in trouble. I don't want to ever blame. Like, I know I was on drugs, but to me, that's like an excuse because I'm the one that put the pill in my mouth. I had
made
a choice.
That choice.
Yeah, I made that choice. So, I don't know, and everybody's different. That's just the way I'm getting through by saying, it was my fault, and I have to own up to it. So,
which that takes a lot for people to do usually when they're an addict,
I feel like I'm strong, and I give all the glory to God. And I'll touch a little bit about being in prison and being in jail and how that was, because I did go back, and I'll tell you why. When I started helping the girl in there, she was like, I'll bring you more people if you'll just continue to put money on my books so I can eat. So I was, it was money and it wasn't my money. So that's how it snowballed. And I had 22 co-defendants on my case when I finally got popped because I put money on all these books. Yeah.
Wow.
And, I was putting money on this one's phone so they can call home. I was putting money on this one so they can go to store. I was putting on this so they can bond out, and it just, it kept going. And then, signs. If you ever get a sign, listen to it. And something whispered in my ear, put your evidence away. And I did. I put every single piece of paper that I had with a credit card in a basket, and I put it in the shed and got greedy. And I took it out and I went back to it. And I'm sure they had already had me. But June 26th, 2014, I'll never forget that day. The night before, me and my daughter, we had watched Orange is the New Black. We finished the series, went to bed at like 7:00 in the morning. No, I'm sorry. Went to bed at like 5:00 in the morning. I had $40 in my pocket so that I could wake up and go buy 2 Roxy's and a couple of people's debit cards that I wasn't supposed to have, credit cards, in my pocket. Fell asleep. And she's laying next to me, and my grandson was in his bed, and my son and his wife at the time was in their room. Jamie was on the couch, my ex-husband. And all of a sudden I hear, boom, 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 boom. Get on the ground. Get the fuck back. And I jump up, and they kick my door in, and they kick my front door in. They kick my door in, open the door, full SWAT, gear, Uzi in his hand. And I'm like, my daughter's in here. And I'm like, got my daughter behind me and still have no idea what's going on.
I was going to say, did you know?
No, not at all. Okay. Not at all. 7:00 in the morning.
Right.
So I get up, and he, marches us out. And the first thing I see is my ex-husband on the ground with his hands in zip ties behind his back. I walk over him, walk to the couch. They sit me down. Still, I'm not in handcuffs.
Are you thinking it's him? Like he did something?
Well, here comes my son. And he comes out of his room. They're marching him with the zip ties behind his back. The first thing I thought is, oh my God, they shot someone. Because we had guns. I mean, my son, they found guns in the baby crib. They found 3 guns on his side table. I mean, like, I have it. I'll send it to you. Just a list of guns that they took, sawed-off shotguns, just craziness. we lived in Macon.
Right.
If you know anything about Macon, Georgia. But so anyway, so again, I just thought, they shot someone. And then they come to me. And I'm sitting on the couch. My daughter's sitting next to me, and I'm like motioning. So sad. That's why they hit me with a cruelty to children, but they dropped it.
Okay.
But it was so sad. I'm like motioning to my daughter for me to put my daughter through that. I'm like, get the credit card out of my pocket. Get the credit card. I'm like telling her, like, get the credit card.
Right.
And she did. She's my daughter.
Mhm.
They're
Right.
innocent.
Right.
But I'm being all big and bad. Well, why are you arresting me? Why are we being detained? Tell me, what's going
Right.
on. And
Right.
they're like, we're going to tell you. We'll let you know. So I sat there for a few minutes. And all of a sudden, my door opens up. First guy walks in. He flashes his badge. I'm so-and-so from the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Door opens up again. Flips his badge. I'm so-and-so from the FBI. Next one comes in. Flips his badge. I'm so-and-so from the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Yeah.
Next one comes in. I'm so-and-so from the CIA. Last one comes in. I'm so-and-so from the IRS. Yeah, I know. I was just like, I look at him and I was like, I couldn't believe it. I knew at that point.
Right.
I knew what it was all about,
Right.
right? Mind you, I'm still on probation. So they get us up and they walk us out. They're taking us downtown to, do their little investigation or whatever.
Mhm.
And I walk outside and my probation officer, they call her the beauty queen cop. She would be dressed up in her makeup and her hair and her high heels, but she had a gun on her hip.
Really?
So she's standing outside. She's leaning up against my tree. She's got one leg, on the tree, arms folded. She's got the gun on the hip. And I walk out and I said, "Good morning, Mrs. Newman." She says, "Good morning, Mrs. Krieger," which I'll tell you that because I'm not Krieger anymore. But she says, "Good morning, Mrs. Krieger." And I said, "Is this gonna mess with my probation at all?"
You did.
I did.
Just a little.
She's like, my name at the time was Denise. I'll tell you that story too. She says, "Denise, you have bigger fish to fry. Get out of here." And so they put me in the thing. They bring me downtown. Hours were there. Hours. It's cold.
And you don't even know the reality of everything
No.
yet.
I've never been in jail in my life. I went the one time for driving on a suspended license. So I deny it. I was always told my children, deny, right? So I deny it. I keep denying it. And finally, the guy gets so mad at me. Jason Batchel, I'll never forget it. I love him now, but I never forget it. He stands up and he's like, "Wait right here." And he leaves. And when I tell you, he comes in with a stack of CDs this big and he throws them on the table. And he said, "That is just 24 hours of your conversations." Now, I still denied until he came out with something that only I would say. I'm on the phone with some guy in jail, and he was good looking. And I said, "Has anybody ever told you that you were good looking enough to put on a shelf?" He had me. I was like, "Okay, fine, I did it." There was no denying that,
Yeah.
So, anyway, I admitted it. I took the charges for my husband, ex-husband at the time, turned state evidence against me. I'm nothing. I'm just a ex-wife.
Right.
But your firstborn blood son, you turned state evidence against. So anyway,
he was always kind of an ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did time, because he was a convicted felon and he was in the room with some of the guns. So he did some time, but he definitely didn't do as much time as me and my son did.
Mm-hmm.
But I did take the charge for all 22. So now I'm in jail. There's no getting out. There was no bond. Okay. My son's in jail. No getting out. And just when I tell you this jail, just the problem is they had egg on their face. They thought they had something big, and they did not. It was less, when you added everything up, it was less than $9,000. Yeah. So, but like they just treated us like making jokes like every time we'd walk in the hallway. Like when we first got there, they're like, "We want those guns, we want that gun, we want," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So then they would be like, "Oh, here's the big kahuna," and just quirks and
They were
things that they
talking
would
that shit
say.
like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Really?
Just yeah. Or like my son, he was diabetic, so that he would have to walk to the nurse's station to get his blood sugar tested or
Yeah.
whatever. And they'd be like, "Oh, you ain't got no credit cards on you, do you?" Things like that. Just
Just being
rude things,
shitheads.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we still, did our thing while we were in there or whatever. I'd get little notes to him because I'd go to the medical or whatever, and I'd just leave a note in the bathroom, and he would go and he would get it. And he was
Yeah.
Superman, I was Wonder Woman, so that was our
Aw.
code name,
Yeah.
and so anyway, so we're in there, and I get booked in. He gets booked in. Last time I got to see him, and that happened June 26th, 2014.
Okay.
September 26th, 2014. 3 months to the day, they call me up to the front, and I go into booking, and they said I had a phone call. So I get on the phone, and it's my mom. And she says, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, is there anyone around you?" And I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm in jail. There's cops everywhere."
Mm-hmm.
She told me my dad died while I was in there. Didn't get to go to his funeral. Didn't get to see him. Didn't get to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
I was Daddy's little girl.
Right.
Um, and I went back to my cell.
Mm-mm. Take your time.
I went back to my cell, and I looked up at the sky, and I said, "I hate you." And I told God I hated him. But it took me 5 years in prison to realize that I didn't hate him, and I needed to thank him because he didn't put me there. Sorry. He didn't put me there. I put myself there. He saved me by me being there because I was still actively addicted to pain pills. And I know now that if I would have been on the street, I would have died.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be sitting here with you.
Right.
I would have drove like a maniac from Georgia to Florida to go after the doctor, for
Right.
not saving my dad. I would have maybe gotten into an accident, nobody knows,
Right.
So I'm very grateful to God, and I thank him. And um, people say, jailhouse religion, all that. And so, like I said, I was born Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised Catholic, but we went to church for Easter, for weddings, for
Mm-hmm.
funerals. It
Right.
was
Right.
never consistent every Sunday. Just our family didn't go to church every Sunday. So while I'm in this jail, all the girls tried to get me to go to church. And I'm like, "No,
Hell no.
like I'm not."
Right.
Because to me, that was a slap in God's face. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't go to church when you were free,
Right.
but now you need me and you
Mm-hmm.
want to go to church. And they're like, "No, that's when he wants you to go." So I went. I did go. And they were right.
Mm-hmm.
They were absolutely right. When, that's God, you know, definitely loves us no
Mm-hmm.
matter what, and I'm now God-fearing woman, and I'm very grateful to God. I asked him to take the taste of the pain pills out of my mouth, and I had no withdrawals at all. Like, they gave me a concoction because I told them,
Right.
and I'm sure that helped, but I
Mhm.
ain't giving them credit. No, I give it all
Right.
to God.
Right.
God's the one
Right.
that, so I have been clean and sober since June 26, 2014. I
Wow.
have been in many situations where I rightfully should have. I actually sent her the video when I went to prison, and I'll tell you the whole story. But when I went to prison, you get to go to the transitional center, like a work program before
Okay.
you actually get released. And I was ran over by a forklift. Yeah, I sent her the clip. I
Oh
sent
my
your daughter the clip, but
gosh.
yeah. So I got run over by a forklift, and the ambulance came and put me in the ambulance. They had to cut my pants off or whatever, and all of a sudden the nurse draws out, didn't know what it was at the time, wants to go stick me with it, and I'm like, "Wait, what's that?" And she's like, "It's morphine. You just got hit with a forklift. You just got ran over. Like, your leg
Right.
was stuck up
Right.
underneath it. You need this." And I'm like, "No." And I start crying, and then she starts crying because I tell her why,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
didn't take no pain medicine.
Wow.
Um, got all my teeth pulled. I'll tell you that story.
Ooh.
Um, no pain medicine. Um, so yeah, so I've been clean since
Fully
2000.
committed.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing, no hard drugs, no. I tried weed here recently, but never that. Never do that
Right.
again. I'll tell you that story too. I am such a lightweight. I tell people,
Yeah.
like, half a wine cooler, I'm on the floor. They make fun of me on tour. They had me drink one time on tour, and they're like, "Yeah, never again."
Not doing that again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know this is a long story. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
But so I'm in jail at that point. I found out that my dad um passed away, and such a long time in jail, 18 months in jail, waiting to go to court.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
waiting to go to court. Well, so they give you plea deals,
Mhm.
and they come with the first plea deal, and they offered me 30 to 20. Serve 30 years, or do 30 years, serve 20. I'd be on probation for 10. I denied it.
Yeah.
Come back a couple months
Now,
later or
do you have an
whatever.
attorney?
So I had a public defender.
Okay.
Now, this whole time I have no bond. Okay, they
Right.
denied me a bond.
Right.
So they come back with a second offer of 20 to 15. I denied it. I kept telling my lawyer, "Get me a bond. I can fight my case out of jail.
Right.
Please just get me out of here."
Yeah.
Mind you, remember, my parents owned $1 million home in Coral Springs that I was raised in.
Mhm.
I finally get on the docket for a bond. Now, this was a high profile case. Like, I could not move in the jail. Like, the captain basically told everyone that there should be a camera on me at all times. Like, he didn't trust me. I mean, I
Yeah.
manipulated him to write a
Yeah.
check, right?
Yeah.
So they hated me.
Mhm.
So everywhere I went, there was a camera. I had my own logbook. Like, the correctional officers, they log every inmate. No, I had my own
Would they
logbook.
do shit to, like, get you in trouble? Like, you know what I mean? Like, every little thing you did they nitpick it or make it bigger?
Yeah, definitely. And they did some foul stuff. They left me one time for hours. It was like 48 hours. They left me in the hole. Forgot about me. And I'm like, finally when I get out, I like contact my lawyer. I had like all kinds of like little evidence that I would send my lawyer and stuff.
Yeah.
They never done anything about it, and I never done anything about it, but I probably could have gotten them for
Right.
cruelty for sure.
Right.
But so uh we go to the bond hearing, right? News stations there. I walk in. This person goes before me, murder charge, $100,000 bond. I was like, "Oh, okay. They're on a murder charge for a
Yeah. Yeah.
$100,000 bond, right? Now I'll be good,
I'll get
right?"
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Try again. I go up, and they, my lawyer fights the fight or whatever, and she agrees. I definitely should get a bond, $100,000 bond. I'm like, a murder charge versus credit card fraud, but it's because who it was on. It was on the jail. I laundered money through the jail.
Right.
That's what it was. So this guy's crying and I'm smiling. Why? Because my parents have $1 million home. I'm going home.
Right.
So I thought.
Right.
So I'm smiling and they're just like, look at, they're saying like, look at her. She's smiling. She ain't going nowhere. I'm like, yeah, I am. Well, little did I know that, yes, they take property bonds, but it's up to the jail if they take a transfer property bond, because the house was in Florida. And of course they didn't. So then I was like, okay, well, I've got people in Georgia, but together no one owns the, $100,000. But this person's house might be worth 40,000 and this person's house might be worth 60,000. Together, split. Once again, they do that, but it's up to the jail whether they take it.
Oh, so they weren't giving you any leeway.
No. So I never bonded out, which I'm glad in the end that I didn't. So at that point they had given me the 2015. My son comes up to go to court, because we have 22 co-defendants, and I say that I want to testify for him, not against him. Like I want to take blame.
Right.
So the judge is like begging me. He's like, this is going to backfire. This is going to go against you. This is not going to help him.
The judge is telling you this?
Yeah, the judge is telling me this. He's like, they're going to hold this against you. This is not going to help him at all. You're just going to hurt yourself worse. They're going to, because you're going to take all the blame. So they're going to give you the worst brunt of it. And they're still not going to be leaning on him, but I still my son, so I did. I testified for him, not against him. And he was right. They didn't care. They said he was, 21 years old. He had his own mind. He could have made up his own decision, regardless. He's at fault, for putting the money on my books, So they gave him, he got sentenced first. They gave him 15 to 8 and he took it. So
he had to do 8 years?
Yeah. Yeah. Guys do way less time than women. So he got out in like 4. I did the full 5, I'll tell you. So he took the 15 to 8. 1 count of RICO and 1 count of criminal street gang activity is what he pled out to. So now it's my turn. 4 days before trial. I did not take the 30 to 20. I did not take the 20 to 15. So I'm in handcuffs. I'm in court. I had 3 DAs. Not 1, not 2, but I had 3 DAs on the case. So this one DA comes up to me, and my lawyer's sitting next to me. I'm sitting in handcuffs, and he looks at my lawyer, and he says, if your client does not take this deal today, I promise you, if it goes to trial, I'm asking for the max. And again, never been in jail before. Don't know really anything about the law. I'm in handcuffs. And I look up at him and I said, well, what's the max? And he looks me dead in the eyes and he says, 780 years. I said, where do I sign? Where do I sign?
Right.
And I did. They were trying to give me 15 years for every criminal gang activity charge I had, and I had 53 charges, 197 counts of credit card fraud.
Wow.
1 count of RICO. So
that's a huge gamble then to go to trial for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 780 years. I said, where do I sign? So my plea was also the 15 to 8, but I got first offenders. So I am not a convicted felon at all.
Thank you, wow.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay, that's a miracle.
Yeah. All glory to God for sure. I mean, like, so I still, like, lived the ramifications of it because while I was on probation, while I was on parole, it still shows up.
Right.
So this is where struggle comes in at.
Okay.
So, went to prison. So I got sentenced, and then you wait, to go to prison,
Right.
and then, oh god, that was terrible. Oh my god. So,
The waiting or
and I'm like,
prison?
I'm sorry?
Which part was terrible? The waiting part or
Well,
prison or
yeah,
both?
yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Just the whole jail, being in jail is just worse because you don't get to go outside.
Yeah.
You're stuck in a cell. Like you're told what to do. You go to the bathroom in front of people.
Right.
You take a shower in front of people, which is in prison too, but not so much like the bath. Like in jail, the bathroom is literally right here in the day room.
Right.
And you have to be locked out of your rooms for certain hours. You can't go in your cell. Or if you go in your cell, you stay in your cell and you can't come out, you miss food.
See, my brother is in prison or jail right now waiting, but I guess he is 23 hours in his cell, 1 hour out.
Yeah.
Holding while they're waiting to
Yeah.
send him wherever he's going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to glorify it, but he'll be much happier in prison.
Yeah.
If that makes any
That's
sense.
I guess that's what he said.
Yeah, and
He's been there before, so he
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually wrote a letter to the judge. I'll tell you about that because it's just insane. So, I'm waiting, to get transferred to prison. They call me out, and I, go. I'm on this bus, and mind you, I'm gullible. Like I'm naive to this. I've
Right.
never been before. So we're handcuffed. We go and we pull up to Lee Arendelle in Georgia, and sit next to someone, and I pull up, and there's another bus that had gotten there before us, and you have to jump out the back of the bus or whatever. That's how they have you get out, right? So I like see these people jumping out, see these people walking, and I look over at the girl, and I'm like, oh my god, we're in a co-ed prison.
Like you have no clue what you're walking into,
No,
right?
To me, it was a full-blown man, right? So I'm like, oh my god, we're at a co-ed, and she's like, that's a woman, and I'm like, ain't no way. And she's like, that is all woman, and I mean, look like a dude, talk like a dude, walk like a dude,
right.
I was like, that's a good looking dude, but
this might not be so bad.
So yeah, I found out real quick that then we're all women. So so it's terrible. Like they bring you in, and they got to delice you, and they put this stuff all over. You're naked and strip naked, and then they make you shower in front of everyone and put the lice stuff in your hair to make sure you're not bringing anything in or whatever. And then you go to it's oh my god, I can't think of the name of it, but it's like the first part of what you do when you go to prison, and until they GP you, which is general population. So you're in there for 6 weeks or whatever, and you just can't wait to get to GP because GP is like kind of like a college camp, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, it's really now men's are a lot different because there's a lot of stabbings and fightings and robbing and thing like that. I mean, we have that. I mean, we definitely I've seen plenty of women get hit with a lock and a sock while I was there.
Right.
Nobody messed with me though. So thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not as bad.
So it's not like Orange is the New Black either.
No, not at all.
Okay.
So I get, put to general population, and I went in saying to myself that I'm not going to prison just to go to prison. Like I'm going to get something out of this. And I could have been like the others. I could have stayed in my pajamas all day and just did nothing, or, got yelled at or whatever. But, I found out they had the dog program there. So you have to write a 500-word essay, and I'm a great writer, hence my book coming out. But, so I wrote this little essay. I started it out with something like woof. That's hello in dog language. And I just, and I had raised dogs all my life. I had bred dogs all my life, so I'm definitely a dog person. Anyway, I got in the program, and so I had a dog the entire time. Not one dog, like many dogs.
That were with you? They're with you the
They
whole time?
literally slept in my cell with me. Yeah, it was
Oh.
great. It was such a blessing. And I got um, my vet tech assistance license. I got my animal caretaker's license. I trained the dogs in obedience and agility. So
Oh.
yeah, it was great.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was just, so what would happen is the animal shelter would send a batch of dogs to us. And then however many of us were in there, we would each get a dog or sometimes two.
Yeah.
We would train them, get them ready, and then they would go back and they'd be able to be adopted.
Oh, was that, like, heartbreaking, though, to
It
let them
was, but
go?
so much so that I adopted two while I was in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so the two of them that I trained,
Okay.
my mom came and I don't have them anymore. They
Oh.
were, too, uh, I guess they weren't aggressive, but my mom was 4'7", okay? And, she just couldn't control them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she had gotten rid of them before I
Right.
got home, before I made it out on parole.
Yeah.
But they went to great homes, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, so I learned a lot, and then I just, would go to every class I could, stay
Mhm.
out of trouble, not get any
Right.
DRs. It was hard, it was hard. And then it's like while I'm in there, I took 53 gang activity charges. They had me labeled and in the book for as
Oh.
um but which I don't, you know, won't disrespect them. I'm not. It takes three, ways to get in, and I didn't do any of them, but
Right.
I had respect for them,
Right.
and they had respect for me. So,
Mhm.
but I was not, you know. Um
Did that help you, though, maybe being in there with
um
that label?
Well, so because I had ties to a lot of OGs,
Yeah.
if I threw their name,
Sure.
out,
Right.
and others knew, then yeah, but
Okay.
I never used it like
You didn't
that,
need to. Yeah.
Um, it was heartbreaking that in the whole 5 years that I was there, not one reached out, not one made sure, my kids were taken care of or anything like that, but
Mhm.
and that's okay. That I'm sure they
You
knew that
find
that was
out
probably the
the
best
things you
for
go
me.
through. Yep.
So, I have no
Mhm.
disrespect to, any of them, but
Right.
I wouldn't recommend, that
Yeah.
life or whatever, and it's okay for them, but um
Did you make friends? Like, actual like, real friends while
I
you were in there?
did. I did. I didn't want to like it was like I knew that coming out I wasn't going to stay
Stay.
connected
Yeah.
with them, but I have a big heart, so I was friendly,
Right.
when I needed to be or
Right.
listen to someone or something like that. But so I did every class that I could, while I was in there. And, so much so they're like, you have too much time left. We'll let you know when you're, allowed to come to this class, that I would
Right.
write,
Yeah.
all the time. So finally the day came and they let me go to the transitional center. And I did. I went to the transitional center, and which I think is a great program. I think everybody should go to the transitional center because, you work, they save your money for you, and
Mhm.
get released to society with something. Because if
Yeah.
not, if you don't have anything,
Right.
you're going to go right back
Skills that you
to,
right. Right.
exactly. But
Now, did they have that at all prisons, or is it just
No, no,
specific
no. Yeah, I believe
that
that's at
most of
all
them do?
prisons.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But while I was there, it was just, like I am against prison. I mean, I'm sure it's because A, I was there. B, I see that it really doesn't do anything. And C, I lost my son behind the walls. He died
Yeah.
in prison. But when I first got there, I'm outside. I wrote this to the judge. I said, "As I sit here on the basketball court in a pair of shorts, listening to music, sipping on some sweet tea. I just don't understand how this is benefiting me in any form or fashion. Like, you should have sent me to a rehab,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, but really, that's it. The only thing that I didn't have was the wall.
Right.
You know, the wall was there.
Yeah.
If the wall was gone, I'd be free. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I'm literally sitting on a basketball court watching girls play basketball, sipping sweet tea, listening to the radio in a pair of shorts.
Right.
That to me
Yeah.
isn't, helping.
Right.
That's just,
Did they have mental health help at all? I know in a lot of prisons and with addiction, everything we always say, nobody goes to the root causes. Nobody deals with the mental health side of things. Did
Yeah.
they offer
Yeah, they
that
they
kind?
had they had mental health, they had, drug programs and things
Okay.
of that nature. So I mean, yeah, I took every class that I
Yeah.
possibly could.
Okay. Well,
But
that's good to know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and some are different. But so back to how they treat you in there and what they have and what they don't have. So the ex-husband, the abusive
Mhm.
one, in reference to my teeth, uh came down to he wanted some weed, and I was sitting at my desk, and this was when we wrote checks.
Mhm.
So your bank account might say you have $600 in there, but
Right.
you really only have 300 because you wrote a $300 check.
Right.
So I'm sitting at the desk and I'm on the computer. He wants weed, and I say, and I don't know the prices and sizes or whatever, but say he wanted, I don't know, a quarter.
Mhm.
Or no, he wanted an ounce, and I only had enough for a quarter.
Okay.
So I tell now, mind you, he's 6 foot. I'm 5'5".
Mhm.
Okay, he's 6 foot. And he's standing up. And I, told him like, hey, we don't have enough for this, we have enough for that. But he's seen the money in the bank account, thinking I'm lying,
Right.
punched me in my head and in my mouth. Split my head open, had to get stitches. He didn't knock my teeth out, but he had like chipped
Cracked.
my
Yeah.
tooth. You know what I'm saying? So then over the years, not going to the dentist, it got worse. Well, now I'm in prison. They don't fill your cavities.
Right.
The
Right.
only thing they do is pull them. So for 5 years, I had 2 missing front teeth in
Oh
my
God.
whole prison sentence. So embarrassing, you know?
Yeah.
So then I get released, and with my money from the transitional center, I treated myself and I got a partial. So I had 2 little teeth,
Right.
hooked up, and, I smiled.
Right.
But after so many years not going to the dentist, being out, everything around it would get
Right.
cavities and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll jump back to that in a second in regards to my teeth. So I go to the transitional center, I get out, and I parole out to my mom in Griffin, Georgia, and live with her.
So she has moved there now. Okay.
Yeah, because my dad passed. So she stayed with me by my side the entire time in prison.
Mm.
I mean, this lady wrote letters to the president trying to get me out. She did everything. She's the only one that faithfully put money on my book. She faithfully answered my phone calls, like came
Oh.
for I was in parenting classes while I was there. So she would bring my kids, and I'd get to have a full day with my kids right next to me playing, making things, Yeah, it was
Really?
great. Yeah. They didn't always want to come, but they came like a couple times,
Right. Right.
um, so yeah, she stayed with me the whole time. She was just
Blessing.
dynamite mom, is what I
Yeah.
call her. And so I paroled out to her, and now mind you, God tells you he don't play. The whole time I'm in prison, I'm now begging God, please just release me. I'll tell my testimony. I'll go to church. Just please release me, God. Please
Mhm.
just release me. I've learned my lesson. He knows if you're lying or not. So I get out. I'm out for 3 months. Never went to church. Never told my testimony. Never picked up the Bible. I wake up one morning, 3 months after I get released on parole, and there's a knock at my door. And I open up the door, and there's police everywhere. They ask me my name. I give them my name, and they said, "We have a warrant for your arrest." I said, "For what?" They said, "For RICO." And I said, "Oh, no. I just did 5 years in prison for RICO." They said, "Ma'am, we are well aware that you did prison time. Your parole officer is well aware that we are here." I said, "Well, RICO from where?" They said, "Jones County." I said, "I don't live in Jones County. I live in Griffin." They said, "Your son, Cody, it's his case. And you're part of it." I'm like, "What?" So, like I said, men get out quicker than women in prison. He got out. We were not even on talking terms. My son was calling me Denise. Respectfully so. I took 5 years of your life away from you, by getting you in the middle of this. Um, but I went in and I did something and learned and took something from it. He unfortunately went in and took bad from it. He had come home, had still connects with people in prison, and he was bringing drugs, cell phones, tobacco, throwing it over the wall.
So he didn't cut the tie when he.
Nope. So, but once again, Bibb County reacted too quick, but was looking. She's got to be involved. The first time they were involved, she's got to be involved. While I'm out, my son had called me and he sent me a picture, and he had red blotches all over him. I'm mom. Poison ivy. So I merely say on the phone, "Have you been in the woods?" So they only heard that part, and they thought I'm saying, "Have you been in the woods? Did you make the drop? Are we good? We got money." They didn't see the whole picture. So they arrest me. I go down. Now, mind you, he's got all these co-defendants, so you can't be in the same jail. They separate you. So I was put in Putnam County and in Edenton, Georgia. And I'm crying to the captain, and I'm telling him, like, "Look, I know that, I look bad, but I promise you I did not do anything." Took him a year to figure it out. And
God.
I sat in for one more year.
You sat there that whole time?
For one whole year, but she fought for me. They wanted to send me back to prison. And she said, "Absolutely not. You're not taking her. She's innocent." And because she's seen all the evidence. But it took me that long to get into court and then parole to catch up and do
what
the paperwork.
Happens with something like that when someone...
Nothing. I'm sorry. But I will give them credit. They went in front of the judge, the officers did, and they admitted they made a mistake. And they made me, because it wouldn't look bad on them. I pled out to some misdemeanor, but
they took
tobacco,
a year of your
something,
life, another year.
Yeah. But I'm grateful because God knew I needed another year, and here I am now. I needed it. And so now I don't go to church every Sunday, but I definitely watch it, or and I'm living by it. I still have some devilish thoughts, but nothing major.
But look, you're telling your story.
Yeah, I tell everybody I'm not even going to steal a grape at a Walmart. No. But there are some things, and I'll touch on that too, because it just shows you what kind of character struggle is. And I'll touch on that. But anyway, so I do that 1 year, and then I finally, get out.
Where's your son? Your son's in too?
He's still in.
Okay.
Yeah, he never got out. He never made it out. He died in there. Yeah. And so I'm out, and I get out, and I move to Macon. And I I'm with my mom, and I've got my kids, my kids come with me or whatever. And then, so I get out, that last time, from doing the year, they go in front of the judge, they apologize, they release me on like some misdemeanor thing or whatever. And then, before I had actually went to prison, jail, got in trouble for all that. When I first originally moved to Georgia,
Okay.
when I was looking for a house, there was a lady, and she, like, we were waiting on the landlord to get there, and she invited us over. We had some sweet tea. She was talking to me about this local group that would come, practice in her barn or whatever. And so I met them. They were great, and I kind of like worked with them a little bit or whatever, getting back into my music. And then come to find out, they dispersed. They weren't a band anymore. But his brother, was an artist, and I got. It just so happened that it was just how weird how just everything just tied together. My son was going out with a girl, and she had introduced me to this guy or whatever. He did music, and I got started with them, so I started managing a local group out of Macon, and they
Okay.
were a country rap duo or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they happened to open up for Struggle Jennings. Now, I
Wow.
had no
Okay.
connection with Struggle
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
Okay. And we had a show in Ohio, and I had my own business. It was called Strike 'em Promotions,
Mhm.
and I would make custom lighters. And I would put like the picture of the artist on the front, and then I'd put their logo on the back, and then I'd put a QR code on it. So when you scan the QR
Yeah.
code, it would go like right to their Instagram or right to their
Right.
YouTube or,
Right.
whatever. So this lady, Nikki Justice, she's our contact in Columbus, Ohio. Love this lady. God knew
Oh.
I needed her to be in my life. She's amazing. So she started out with Struggle and Jelly Roll. Like, she got them their first gig when they got out of jail and stuff.
Oh,
Like,
love
she's
that.
major in the family. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, put money out for them to, just start. They would sleep on her couch. She has like this place in Ohio she calls the Green Roof Inn, and all the
Really?
artists
Is
come
she
there. And
Columbus?
yeah,
'Cause
Columbus,
we're from
Ohio.
Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, Mickey Justice, we call her Mickey.
Mhm.
But so she had reached out to me, and she's like, look, like, I would love, like, she knew I was coming because she
Mhm.
had connections with the artists that I was managing, and then she
Right.
knew that, Struggle was going to be there, and
Right.
I knew it was her show. She's the only one that Struggle lets, do the shows in Ohio. So she's like, I would love for you to make me a set of lighters for Brianna, which is Struggle's daughter, who was also performing.
Okay.
So, I was like, "Okay, sure." So, so I'm thinking to myself, "Well, gosh, I can't just make lighters for Brianna and not make some for Struggle.
Right.
So I
Right.
made some for him."
Yeah.
And then, so we get there, and I, give the lighters to Brianna and Bernie, who was doing merch at that time. And, he loved them, she
Right.
loved them. And then I, gave him, I didn't give him to Struggle. Like, I didn't really talk to Struggle. I gave him
Right.
to Bernie. Bernie got him to him and found out later that he loved him. So I didn't even know this guy knew my name. Like, I knew,
Right.
didn't have no introduction with Struggle. So we do the show, and then a couple, we go home, and then, a couple days later, they have another show. It's like a mini tour
Yeah.
in Florida. Well, mind you, my mom was 75 years old.
Okay.
She had 13% heart life left. She had congestive heart failure.
Oh.
And she was used to, being on the road, going to see Willie.
Yeah.
She knew I was going back out on the road. And she came to me and she said, "Take me with you. I want one last hurrah."
Oh.
And I knew better. This was during COVID. It was
Oh.
in Florida.
Yeah.
And I knew that she would potentially catch COVID.
Right.
But how do you tell her no?
Right.
She's crying. "Please take me with you."
Yeah.
All she wanted to do was dance with Struggle. That's it. So I took her with me. My artist opened up, did the show, and
Right after the show, Struggle comes out and he danced with my mom. There was at least 20 people out there.
Oh.
We could not get Wi-Fi to play music. There was no music.
He just danced with her.
Just danced anyway. And she passed away August 25th of 2021. Yes, her birthday was August 20th. She passed away August 25th of 2021. And it was still COVID. They wouldn't let me see her. They wouldn't let me in the hospital. So they let me do a FaceTime with her. And I'm on FaceTime. She's got the mask on. You could barely hear what she's saying. But still fighting, you know?
Right.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she says, "Tell Struggle not to dance without me."
Oh, God.
And I was like, "What did you say, Mom?" You know? So, but yeah, you know, she danced, and I know she's dancing in heaven, you know, watching over me, and she's with my mom. I mean, she's with my dad, she's with my son. So, but again, I still had no idea that this man knew me, you know, like,
like he just danced with her
danced with her, you know, and I didn't have a conversation with him at all. And, so I bring her back to Georgia and turned right back around to come back to do the next show in the other part of Florida. Like she wanted one, you know, so I brought her back, came back. We do the next show, and show's over. We're leaving. I had my youngest son with me, Kane. So he was in my minivan. I was in my truck. The bus is pulling out. My son's right behind the bus. I'm right behind my son. And all of a sudden, this big, loud boom. I thought the bus backfired. I had no idea. I jump out of my truck, and it was a drunk driver. T-boned Struggle's truck. They had to cut the guy out of the truck.
Oh, my God.
His manager at the time got thrown off the bus. Everything's disassembled in the bus. Things are thrown away. Things are broken. Stuff falling out. And I'm at the top of the hill. And Struggle's at the bottom. But I can see him. And I see like he's, you know, accounting for all his people.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I hear him say, "Where's Grace Ann?" I didn't know the guy knew my name. And I said, "I'm right here, sir." He says, "Get down here." So mind you, I'm 360 pounds. So I run my fat ass down the hill. And I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "How many vehicles you got?" I said, "I got my truck and I got my van." He says, "All my stuff goes in the van. All my people go in the truck." It's like, okay. And we go to the hotel. He got 8 rooms for everyone. And I stayed with him for 3 days. I think it was 3 days waiting on a backup bus because my people were done.
Right.
They were going home back to Georgia, but he still had to go to Texas. So they wait on a backup bus to come. And meanwhile, I'm like, you know, driving to Waffle House, getting them food, bringing this one to Walgreens to get something. I'm just driving everybody, you know, where they need to go. So at the bus shows up and he's like, "I need you to do an all clear." And I said, "What the hell's an all clear? I don't know what an all clear is." He's like, "I need you to go in all the rooms, make sure we didn't forget nothing."
Right.
I was like, "Well, how am I going to get in the rooms?" Like, "Oh, tell me you're my manager or something," you know?
Yeah.
So I go and I get 8 keys to 8 different rooms, and you know, who left a necklace here, who left a cooler here, who left, you know, this here, whatever, money, whatever. Right? So I'm gathering all this stuff. Now, mind you, the only contact I have is Brianna, his daughter, because I'm making her lighters.
Yes.
So, and in the meantime, I still have that mentality that people are going to think that they don't know me. They just know me as a convict, that I'm stealing or I might keep it. So I'm taking pictures of everything. I'm like, I got this. I'm bringing this, you know, just to, you know, to show them. So she's like, okay, well, our last show on the run is in Kentucky. So that's not too bad. I live in Georgia, drive to Kentucky with all their stuff.
Right.
So I do. Me and my kid, Kane, my youngest son, and we go there and watch the show. We get to watch the show.
Yeah.
And I walk out, and Struggle's like getting ready to walk on the bus. And he's got, his manager, bodyguard, whatever behind him. And he goes to step on the bus, and he catches me, and he like stops, and he's like, "You need me for something?" I'm like, no, sir. Like, I'm just bringing your stuff back. Thank you. Have a good day. Like, very intimidating.
Yeah.
He's a big guy, right? So I'm like, no, I'm good. So he's like, oh, well, let's talk in a couple days. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And gets on his bus, and they take off, right? So I get back to Georgia, and I'm watching, his Instagram and stuff, and he puts a post out, and it says that he's looking for a loader for his next tour run. So I'm thinking to myself, I can't be a loader, but I definitely would love to tell him, what I can offer him.
Right.
So one of Struggle's famous sayings is, in order to fly, you have to jump. So I used his words against him.
You did.
And I DM'd him, and I said, look, my son could be your loader, but I would love to tell you, what I can offer you.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is me jumping. It's up to you whether I fly or crash.
Oh.
Well, he laughed at it.
Yeah.
And he says, come to Tennessee then. So I said, okay. So I packed me and my kid up, and I drive to Tennessee. Again, the only contact I have, that was through Instagram, but like an actual direct phone number was his daughter. So she sets me up. They set me up in a hotel right by their shop, and I get into the hotel on Friday night. I don't hear nothing. Saturday goes by. I don't hear nothing.
Are you starting to like
Sunday,
panic a little?
I'm panicking.
Yeah.
Sunday goes by. I don't hear nothing. I look at my kid, and I'm like, I gotta go. Like, I have to go to work. I can't, keep staying here.
Right.
I'm like, this guy invited me here. Like, I thought this was real. Little did I know, his aunt baby was dying on hospice. He just found out that through this whole time, his whole life, he thought that his dad committed suicide, which is probably a story he should tell you, but I'll tell you and the fans. And hopefully I give it justice and tell it right. But he was out playing football. His dad called. He blew it off and was like, "No, Mom, tell him I'll call him later. I'm out with my friends playing football." That night, they show up, and his dad passed away. He thought his dad committed suicide. So for his whole life, he thought, well, God, if I would have, if I would have just taken that phone call, maybe he wouldn't have killed himself. Well, I'm in the hotel. He's with Aunt Baby. He's got his arm around her head, neck, telling her, I love you. This is like our final goodbye. And he gets told she's the one that killed him. Yeah. But so I had no idea,
What?
But yeah, so he finds out that he got murdered, and not she's passed away now, so she can't go to prison or nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, he's a strong man. You have no idea.
Wow.
But anyway, so finally it's like 11 o'clock at night, and Bree calls me, and she's like, "Hey, is it too late for you to go meet my dad?" I'm like, heck no,
Right.
So
right.
I go meet him, and then of course he tells me the story. So it's like, but that's just the type of guy he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, your aunt is dying.
He's
you
got all
just
this
find out about
trauma
that, but
going
you
on.
still met me.
Yeah.
I'm nobody, and you still made sure it happened.
Right.
That's what people don't know about him. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't know that.
Right.
People don't know him. I know him.
Right.
And I'm grateful that I get to be in his life.
and
You know what I'm
see
saying?
it.
I owe
Yeah.
him so much. He'll tell me, no, Grace Ann, you don't owe me, but I do. I do. So we meet. And he's like, look, let me just get through the holidays. Let me get through my tour. He's like, I'll bring you back up here. And I'm like, okay, and it's still, a little leery,
Yeah.
whatever, but it sounded
You're
great,
like thinking, is it really going to happen?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I go back to Georgia, and sure enough, he calls me back to Tennessee. I'm still on parole. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'm having to get travel passes
Yeah.
from my parole officer.
Right.
But she's great, and I never got in any trouble, never
Right.
failed a drug test or anything. It had been clean or whatever. So now he brings me to his mansion, to his house,
To the actual house.
to the
Yeah.
actual house.
Yeah.
And I go in, and he walks me in or whatever, and Taboo, his wife,
Mhm.
is at the bar, and he's like, Taboo, I'm gonna take Grace Ann upstairs, talk some business. And he takes off. And mind you, I'm never been in this guy's house. It's a mansion, number one. I'm 360 pounds, number two. So I scream out, hey, did you forget I was fat? And he says, in his voice that he has, he says, follow my voice, Grace Ann. Follow my voice. Up the stairs, around here, up there, this way, that way, up there. Finally, I find the office. He's sitting on one side of the desk. I'm sitting on the other side. And I'm like, I'm at an interview. I got my book. I've got my pen. I've got ideas. I'm, telling them what I can do, and finally I'm bawling. I'm crying, and I'm like begging. I'm like, Struggle, please. Like, I can't rent a house because it comes up. I'm renting a house in my daughter-in-law's name.
Right.
Because they're not renting to me because I have a crime. I can't get a job. So I was like, I just need one shot. Just one shot, Struggle. Please. I said, I will do anything. I will stand on one foot and act like a flamingo. And he looked at me, hence my flamingo.
Oh.
He says, he looks at me and he said, girl, you're a hustler and I need you on my team. He's like, I don't know what we're going to do with you, but you're hired. Take my number. So he sat there for a moment and he's like, you know what? I got it. He says, I spend $3,000 in Ubers. He said, I'm going to rent you an SUV and you're going to drive behind the bus and you're going to be my personal driver. And he slides the schedule across the desk. And I pick it up. And mind you, I live in Georgia. His first stop is in New York. I said, Struggle, I love you, but I'm not driving from Georgia to New York. He said, yes, you are. I said, yes, I am. I've been his driver ever since.
Really?
Yeah. I've been his driver ever since. Yeah, such a blessing. Yeah. So it's funny too because
he said, yes, you are.
Yes, you are. I said, okay, yes, I am. And I'm not gonna say no to you.
Oh, the
But
flamingo.
yeah, I'm his flamingo. He bought me this. Yeah. So hence he bought me this too. Him and his wife. My flamingo socks. He didn't buy me the flamingo socks. My grandson bought me the flamingo socks, but yeah. But
that's so special.
Yeah, he's such a great guy. There's so many people that would, I'm sure, love to be in my position. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
If you asked me, if I ever thought,
right.
I mean, I am literally go to this man's house.
And they treat you like family.
Like
right?
family.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's why I say I'm so grateful to not only Struggle, but his wife, all his kids. You know what I'm saying? They tell me they love me. They have my phone number. I text them. They text me. It's like.
So you finally have that love and that peace.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my life is so great. I will not, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it take advantage?
Ever take it for granted.
Take it for granted. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. I would never, take it for granted, but I know there's lots of people that would love to be in my position because I get to see everything.
Yeah, I love
saying,
that you love them like that, though,
oh
too,
God, I
you
love
know?
them. Everybody, the whole team, everybody on the team, like Kareem, our drummer, Andrea, our fiddle player,
Yeah.
Sam and Jimmy, our guitar players, and Corey for sound, and it's just amazing. They're just great. We have such a great time,
Yeah.
out on tour.
Oh,
But
God, I
I mean,
love
it's
that.
work. It's definitely, hard work.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and then the thing is, with that being said, like his fans too, like his fans, even kind of, and I'll tell you like a little bit about like what I do and how it goes,
Yeah.
like when we're on tour. But so yeah, I'll start with that, and then I'll tell you about his fans.
Okay.
So because they like
Embrace
give
you?
so much love to me, yeah. Well, and then my journey, I'll get into that too. But
Right.
so basically, like the bus will pick Struggle up,
Okay.
from the house. So say for instance, our first stop is Alabama.
Okay.
He rents me an SUV.
Okay.
And then, oh, that's another. Wait, I have to tell you this. I'm so sorry. So the first time I ever went out on tour with him, this man knows my record. Okay.
Yeah.
This man knows that I had 197 counts of credit card fraud. I don't keep anything from him.
Mm-hmm.
The very first time we went out, he doesn't know me. My
Right.
first time on tour with this man, he hands me an unlimited amount American Express card and tells me to get gas with it because he's not going to be with me. He's on the bus. I'm
Right.
behind the bus.
Right.
So I'm getting gas and I'm saving the receipt. I'm getting gas. I'm saving the receipt. He's like, and buy yourself a snack. No, sir. I use my own card for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so gas only.
Right.
Saving the receipt. At the end of the tour, I hand him all the receipts. Doesn't even look at them. He crumples them up right in front of me. Throws them away. I lost it. I started to cry.
Oh, God.
Like,
I bet.
you have that much trust in me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's
A
such a
whole
good
lot
man.
of faith in you and what
Oh,
you
yeah.
were going to be capable of.
Yeah. But, you would think that,
Little
maybe,
cautious. Be a little
right,
cautious or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
not at all. So, so if, how it starts is like, say our show is in Alabama.
Right.
The bus will pull up, he gets all his stuff loaded. He, gets on the bus, the band members come or whatever. He rents me the SUV. I follow behind the bus. The first thing Struggle Jennings does, as soon as we hit Alabama, the bus takes him to a gym. So again, I was 360 pounds and I thought I was going to die. And so did he. He told me way after. He said, Grace Ann, I was scared. I thought you were going to die. So I asked him to help me. And it was the Back Row Baptism Tour when I started.
Okay.
And so we'd go to the gym every morning. I would go with him. And the bus would leave and it goes to the venue. And then I would work out with him. And then we would leave and he would get in my car. I'm his driver.
Yeah.
So then, take him to the venue and then I would take him to the hotel, get him checked into the hotel. And then, take him back to the venue for meet and greets. And I get to be with him, right there. So I'm seeing all his fans.
Right.
And met so many nice people. Like they bring him gifts. And then people who are watching my journey would bring me gifts. Like someone brought me a keychain that said, just drive Grace Ann,
Oh.
And then this one lady, at the time she didn't want it mentioned of who she was. I think she'd be okay with it now, only because like a lot of people would probably come after her. But anyway, so we're at this meet and greet and I'm standing next to him. He's meeting and she gives me a hug. Her name is Carrie. And she gives me a hug and she whispers in my ear. She said, I watch you work so hard. I want to do something for you. I want to do your teeth.
She's a dentist.
Stop.
Yes. So, of course, I started crying. She told me not to cry, but I start crying. And, I tell Struggle. And, and it comes along, and I go to West Virginia where she's at, and
Ugh.
she does the impressions, and she paid for all my teeth to get pulled. And yeah, and now I can smile. I have teeth thanks to her. So
wow.
yeah. And but just like, she's his fan. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But now we're friends. She
Right.
just left my house. She came to visit,
Really?
and then it was for my birthday, and she sends me a present. She sends something for Struggle and Taboo too,
Oh.
But that's the type of fans that he has.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then I've met
like real, genuine people.
yeah, and then like I have a little girl group, Melissa and Andrea and Amber, they're fans of his as well. Like Melissa has a tattoo of the God We Need You Now, which is Struggle and Caitlin's song that is a gold record and #1 Billboard that, they
she
wrote
has
and
that
sang.
tattoo.
Yeah, she's got it tattooed, and then he signed it, and Caitlin signed it, so now she's got the tattoo. And and then we do like these and this is just to tell you like how Struggle is, you know what I'm saying? Like, so they're my friends, but they're his fans too,
Right?
You know what I'm saying? But they're real, like I talk to them every single day,
Yeah.
And we do these check-ins, and we have a group chat, and we send a picture, just checking in or whatever. But 9 out of 10 times it's usually the middle finger,
Right.
And then so Struggle sees me because he's with me all the time, and he sees me like checking in with them and FaceTiming them and stuff, so he'll jump in and he'll put his middle finger. So then I send that to the group. I'm like, don't post this anywhere.
Yeah.
But Struggle's checking in,
Right.
So he's just, that's, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have to do that.
Right.
At all.
He's just being real.
But yeah, he's just being real,
Yeah.
like just to, appease me and
Right.
to please his fans. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, he's really one-on-one. And the one thing about him, he'll kill me for saying this, but I love you. The one thing that I love about Struggle, and it's not against anybody else that might do this, but there's so many things that Struggle does that nobody sees.
That he doesn't
like,
have to be seen all the
at
time
all.
doing.
And
Yeah.
he hates it. Like, don't call him out on it. Like, that's not what he does it for.
Right.
Like, there's people that like, not to mention any names or whatever, but like you see people like posting like, oh, I left $1,000 tip to someone.
Right.
They film the whole thing,
Yep.
and he, we'll pull up to Taco Bell, and he leaves $1,000 tip, and I'm filming, and he's like, Chris, delete that. That's not what I did this for.
Right.
And so people don't see that
Yeah.
of him,
Right.
but I get to see it, and just many, many, many. I can go on and on and on, but he'll kill me if I share it. So
I know. Too bad you can't have your own little like Struggle fan page to see to show all the reality. But yeah, he'd probably strangle you.
Yeah,
because
that's not why he does it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got his family that he's got 7 kids and a wife.
Whoa,
and,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so he takes care of them, and then he takes care of the team, and he puts himself last. There was one time we actually it was a funny thing that we were playing on Struggle, like a little prank or whatever. So and Carrie was actually the first one that the dentist, she was actually the first one that got to do it. So she went to the meet and greet. I wasn't there. I was getting Caitlin Curtis off the bus. And so she's there with meet and greets, and it's her turn, and she's like, hi, sorry, where's Grace Ann? I'm here to see her. And it was so funny.
That's hilarious.
But, and so it's like a little running joke.
Yeah.
Like, how many meet and greets you got, Grace Ann? I'm like, oh yeah, just one. And then but yeah, he's just, I mean, he's great. Like, he's just like, and just like if I have friends or family, like, doesn't let them buy tickets, lets me put them on a guest list,
right?
Just everything.
And they probably have so many people asking all the time too.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure. Yeah, but he's just, I mean, just everything. Like, he just, there's so many things that he does that people just like don't know.
see.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and I tell him all the time, like, I'm nothing to you.
but let him tell it,
Yeah, you're very much something to him.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So so I travel behind the bus, and then then like I said, we'll do the meet and greet, and then bring him back to the hotel, and then he does his voice lesson, and then I bring him back to the venue, and then I'm always behind him. He probably gets so sick of it, but I don't think he'd ever say anything to me. But I just well, here's the thing, because I was like, oh, I want to be your bodyguard, or whatever, and he says, Grace Ann, I love you. I'm not saying that you couldn't be my bodyguard. I'm not saying that you probably didn't take someone down.
Right.
He says, but you can never be my bodyguard. And I'm like, why? And he says, because I'm going to take a bullet for you. We can't take a bullet for each other. And I was like, oh, okay, I get
God,
it.
you're like my heart.
I know. So, but I'm always like on, his behind him, just in case anybody comes behind him, or whatever. But
you're protective.
Yeah, very overprotective. And it's funny too, because like when we started, when he introduced me, so for the longest time I'd be like, this is my personal driver, and then a year went by or whatever, and then it's when he introduces me, this is my personal driver and my personal assistant. So then now, not recently, because he's been a good boy, but the last, thing that who was saying is, this is my personal assistant. This is my personal driver. This is my personal assistant. Sometimes she plays bodyguard, and she pulls me out of strip clubs at 2:00 in the morning.
She's my keeper.
Yeah. But he hasn't been to strip clubs, so he's been a good boy. But yeah, especially with what he's got going on now, he's doing really good. I don't know if you know, but he just did a movie. He was in a movie called Day of Reckoning.
Really?
Yes. And it dropped March 23rd. It was in theaters. And again, another thing that he probably won't want anybody to know, but
well, they will now.
He rented out the entire theater and paid for 100 people to come to watch the movie. The first night was for friends and family, and then the next night was for fans. Yeah, he does stuff like that, but nobody sees that, but I know
you do.
And that's really why he wanted me to be his personal driver, because although Ubers are safe or whatever, it's just he can't be on the phone and make phone calls,
do any kind of business
that, I signed a waiver where
for sure
can't share that stuff and won't ever, like it's omerta all the way, which is code of silence. So but
well, and he's brought you into his family, everything. So
for sure. So but yeah, so he's in Day of Reckoning, and but so fun fact about Day of Reckoning, it's like I guess it's like he like knew the people and the people knew him, so it was more of just like, hey, you're going to be in the movie type deal if you want to be, and he wanted to be. And then the same producers, I think that's the word, producers or whatever, they had mentioned to him that they wanted him in another movie.
And now he hasn't done acting before?
No.
Really? Okay.
No. Always wanted to.
Okay.
But never did.
Right.
So I think he was in a movie. I'm take that back. I think he was in a movie. I think, if I remember correctly, he was in like a little part of something a long time ago, but I don't know if it ever made it. I think they didn't finish it or something. I think I remember him saying something about that. But anyway, they wanted, him for this role. They're like, we think you'd be perfect for it. They said, however, there's already been some, big actors that have auditioned. You'd have to audition for it, So he was all nervous,
Yeah, I'm sure.
So he did his little audition, like he got the script and he did the little audition, whatever they call it, that he has to turn in. And that was like on Sunday. And then I'm on the phone with him. He's like, Christian, they didn't call me back. I'm like, Struggle, it's not that type of thing. Like they have to go through. Like it's going to be a minute. Just you got it. You did great. You know? So then Monday, he calls me. He's like, Christian, they didn't call me back. And I don't think I'm going to get the part. I said, Struggle, you nailed it. Well, he was going into Channel 2 News and he was promoting the Day of Reckoning. He was going there. So he was on the phone with the producers or whatever, and he says, yeah, just let you know, I'm about to go walk into Channel 2 News and let him know about Day of Reckoning. And the guy says, that's great, we really appreciate you doing that. And they said, well, don't forget, you might as well, let them know while you're doing that you have another movie role that you're in. He's like, what? I got it.
That's how they told him.
Great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was perfect. I was so proud of him. I was so happy for him. So that's where he is right now. He's in Vegas. Well, he should be flying home right now. But yeah, so he just did the first movie.
I can just envision you from what I know about you already. Like when he has all these wins, I can just see you being like all proud.
Oh my God. Should share. I'll send her this picture too. So I got to be, and that's, I'm so honored. I got to be there. I don't know if you know anything about venues, but Red Rocks is it's in Colorado.
I don't know.
And it is the ultimate venue.
Really?
Anybody who's anybody wants to do Red Rocks.
Okay.
And he got to do Red Rocks. And I got to be there. I hate backstage. I'll tell you my day and what I do.
Yeah.
I hate backstage. Everybody loves backstage. I don't. I can't see him. And the sound is different.
Yeah.
You can't appreciate it.
Right.
But that time, I definitely wanted to be backstage for Red Rocks because it's an amphitheater. So it's millions of people. Right. And he comes off stage after he performed, and Mickey was there, and she snapped a picture of me and him hugging, and I'm crying my eyes out, and he's crying, and it's just such. And then I've got a picture. I was there for when he did his debut at the Opryland at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh,
yeah, I got to be a part of that too. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't think he realizes how what he does and offers me and the opportunities he gives me. I could never think that. Never think I'm enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great life. I love it. But so then, okay, so I get him back, and then when we get back to the venue, here I am, I'm, I got to walk him the stage. I have to walk him to the stage, So he gets his ears on and his in-ears, and, the band is already out there. And as soon as he steps up on that stage, I run to the front. I'm in the front the whole time. Every time I watch the whole thing, and I like to go live. On TikTok and Instagram, and so I'll go live, and just for the whole show. And then I know what his last song is, and then I'm like, all right, guys, gotta get him off stage, and so I run back there, and
so you're letting everybody know what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So then I watch him walk off stage. I stand back, because he just performed, so I kind of let him walk a little bit, and then I come up behind him, and then we go in the green room, and then depending on if we're going to an after party or whatever, and then I help get whatever his stuff together, and then I'll take him to the hotel, and he, kind of debunks a little bit, and then get his stuff together. And once he's on the bus and I know he's safe, I can breathe, and I get back in the car. And depending, if we're going from Alabama to Florida and it's a short haul, I'll sleep at the hotel. Sometimes he yells at me all the time because he's like, you gotta sleep, Grace Ann. But, I'm just so excited. So if it's a short run, I'll sleep at the hotel. But then if it's an 8-hour run between cities, I'll jump ahead of the bus and drive, and then so that I have that
time sleep,
because a bus takes longer. Plus they have to gas up, and that takes an hour. So then I get 3 hours, and I'll just pull over into a truck stop or whatever and get some sleep, and then get there for the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you guys did that together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started at 360 pounds.
Yeah.
And thought I was dying. He thought I was dying, and I lost.
Were you having medical issues too?
I don't know, because I never went to the doctor, but my legs were swollen, and you couldn't even see my ankles. At all. It was huge. So I was very dedicated, and I lost 160 pounds.
That's amazing.
And we came off tour
and I wasn't in the gym. And then Thanksgiving and Christmas came and I gained some back.
Yeah, that's easy, right?
And yeah, so I gained 60 pounds back. But I'm not going to beat myself up. I told myself, because I'm going to do it again.
Yep.
I'm on it right now.
Yep.
It's been 3 days. We got a membership at the Y, me and my grandson.
Good.
And so yeah, I'm back at it, and he's on me, and I'm going to lose it again. And not only am I going to lose it, but I'm going to get to my goal, which is the other thing I wanted to tie into, was another, I wouldn't say fan, they're definitely family and friends, but how, I said this can inspire people, but this guy, his name is Shy Eubanks. He's also an artist. He just dropped a song just the other day, Barback. And he was out with Struggle, and I showed up, and he just looked at me and was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how much weight you lost. You look great." And he's like, what do you want? And I was like, oh God, I'd love to get my surgery done after I lose all the weight. And he flips on his phone and he goes live and made a video. I wasn't sure. I don't know if he was live or made a video. One of the two. And he said, if I meet goal, he'll pay for my surgery.
Stop.
Yes. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. And like he just reposted it on his Instagram.
Yeah.
Like 2 days ago, because when he did it originally, where he said he was paying for it, like everyone was like coming in with more like, oh, he's Mr. Beast vibes or whatever. And he's like, y'all aren't getting it.
Right.
It has nothing to do with whether I have the money or don't have the money. I'm not Mr. Beast.
Right.
I'm doing it because she inspires me.
Yes.
And like,
and that
you
will
can do
inspire
it too.
others.
Right.
And just,
yeah,
God, people,
exactly.
Yeah. The haters are always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's another blessing. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like, but it all again stems down to him just giving me a shot. And me, I mean, I do, I'm learning now. I do take credit because I've worked really hard.
Right.
And, you
do a lot.
Yeah, I am who I am because I do have that, hard work and dedication.
Yeah.
Like his motto is,
Right.
So, but I love all of them. And I'm so excited for each and every one of them. Each one of, his artists have a unique sound and are just, I want them all to win.
Right.
That's what I want.
Yep.
I do like Caitlin Curtis. She has the song God We Need You Now. That was like one of their big main things.
Yeah.
But she started, like she was doing music for years and would go to like every competition, American Idol.
Really?
Yeah, all of those. And it's funny because Paula Abdul and Simon Cowell, there's a video out there. She's on stage. She's singing her heart out. Young. She's super young. And they told her no. They told her, Simon said that she'd be better off in a girl band.
Oh.
And, but Paula, God bless her, literally stopped, went on stage, hugged her and consoled her because she was crying.
Oh,
she's young.
Yeah.
And but then all of a sudden she is a TikTok. She's got over 2 million
Does
people
she?
on her TikTok. Yes.
Yeah.
She and she just dropped a song.
We'll have to make sure that we follow her.
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
Yeah.
She just dropped a song with her son Jonah, called A Savior. He's a ham. He's a ham. And he's on her TikTok a lot too. Then she makes a little joke like, oh, this is his TikTok,
Yeah.
But they just did a video. But so she's got this one video where she's got that piece playing of Simon telling her no. And then all of a sudden she shows the billboard. She got the #1 billboard.
Exactly.
And she's like, we did it.
Oh, that's perfect.
So, yeah. And then Brianna, there is no words for that. That you need to follow her for sure.
For sure.
She's got, I've never heard someone with just the sound that she has. She's like blues, but then her Spiritual Ecstasy is her new one that she just dropped.
very unique. Just
let's make sure before you leave that we
for
know all
sure.
those.
And she just puts in, and then JD Huggins, he's like rock and roll,
Okay.
country.
Yeah.
He's great. And Bonnie Stewart, she's I think she's like Americana, and she just goes out there and she's been doing shows,
Does her
but
thing.
not only does she do shows and everything else, but she does work for Struggle too, like the administrative and all that.
Okay.
And we have a solid team.
That's awesome.
For sure. All the way down to his accountant, Nick. I love that man too.
I was gonna say with a lot of love. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much my story, except for really the only thing that I probably left out, which is probably the most important and most dear to my life, is what I have going on now. So I did the prison sentence. My son was a co-defendant. Got out. He got in trouble. He went in. He was a brittle diabetic, like I told you. And he had caught COVID in prison.
Okay.
Flatlined. They brought him back. And he had to get a trach. For the longest time, he didn't have the speaking part because they're in prison. They don't care. They don't help you in there at all. And we did video visits, and he was such a character. I actually sent her a video of my son. Like, I'm on a video visit and he's going like this and just like going like this and just funny things. And I'm like, do the next thing, And show me he loves me and stuff. And I'm grateful that I have that, And then so he calls me on a video visit, and he had like his little partner, on the thing first, and he's like, I got a surprise for you. And I hadn't heard my son talk because he didn't have it. And someone left prison and gave him the speaking part that they had. So
really?
I got to hear his voice, before he passed away. And then he fought, so hard, and he was so close to coming home. He was really sick. They don't take care of you in there.
Is it still from COVID? He was fighting.
Oh yeah. And that, like, I've got recordings of just conversations with the warden, and just so nasty and mean. And I even sent this to your daughter. If you cared so much and you blamed my child for being diabetic, why do I have a store sheet where he was allowed to order 10 honey buns? He should not have been able to order. He should have been on a diabetic platform, a warning, but you let him order, 10 honey buns. I don't think he ate them. He probably traded them for something else or whatever. He was pretty good about it, but just there was I tried to get them to do a medical reprieve. Like, that's when you're have a something, an illness that's gonna cost you your life. They put you in a program and you can be released and put into they never done that. They didn't do anything. But, and I also sent her this paperwork. So my son passed away at 1:05 in the afternoon. Well, the records are public. So I fought to get them. And when they do their rounds, they have to write down everything. At 10 o'clock in the morning, one of the officers passed my son's room and noted at 10 o'clock in the morning that he was on the floor with blood in a diaper. I guess they had a diaper on him for whatever reason. There was blood in the diaper and there was no movement. So you left him there from 10 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock when you called his death? Like, wow. Who does that?
They didn't have notes of like medical win or anything?
No, they basically said that he refused dialysis and all this stuff. But the kicker is this, in black and white,
on their own paper. My son passed away September 12th, 9/12/2021. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On 9/11/2021, they say that he signed a DNR. Now, first of all, in order to sign a DNR, you have to be mentally, physically, and emotionally stable.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me that my son was mentally, physically, and emotionally stable the day before he died?
Right.
What happened?
And he's
Did you
so
kill
young
him?
too. They're not going to sign something like that, especially when he knows he could get out. And
Exactly.
yeah, I'll
He was so
call
close to getting
bullshit
out.
on
It was
that.
months. He was going to be out in months. Well, granted, the first prison sentence, he would have been out months. He still had the other one, his new charges. And honestly, I don't know. I'll never know until I go to heaven. When I go to heaven, I'm sure he'll tell me.
Right.
I'm gonna see him again. But I just think he was tired.
Right.
You know, he knew that my dad passed away. He knew that my mom passed away. You know, he was tired. So, but he has 2 kids, Luke and Leah. And I am so grateful. Again, all glory to God and his mom, because my son passed away, and I think, when did I get you? How long after Dad died? January 1st, 2022, right? Okay, so his dad passed away September 12th of 2021.
Okay.
And then in January, I get a phone call
him.
from his mom. I answered. I was sleeping, and I wake up to a phone call, and she tells me that I just want to let you know that your grandson's going into state custody. And I jumped up. I'm like, no, he's not. Let me come get him. And first thing I did, like, I don't have anyone either. I don't have a mom. I don't have a dad.
Right.
You know, my
They're
son
gone. Right.
is passed away. I call Struggle. And I was like, I don't know what to do. This is what's going on. This is the situation. This is what his mom told me. What do I do? He says, you go get him. And I'm like, well, I don't have a dollar to my name. Like, what do I do? We weren't on tour, you know,
Right.
whatever. And he's just like, yeah. And boom, my phone goes off and there's $1,000, you know, in my account. Go get him. I said, okay, I'll go get him. And he's like, you know, maybe we can, you know, save him, because my son and my daughter are a handful, and he tried to save them too. He took him out, my youngest son, out as a loader, and he did not do right. And so I went and I got him, and he's been with me ever since. And now he works for Struggle too.
Oh,
he
you
goes
do?
out. Yeah, he's the loader.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, so now not only do you bring me into your house, but you bring my grandson into your house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and
we know grandsons are extra special.
Oh yeah, I hear someone else has a little grandson.
Yes, we have the 10-year-old, a 6-year-old grandson, and a little girl on the way.
Oh
yeah. So it's just so different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's
Well,
it's a different love.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful to her. Like she's not selfish.
Right.
That's for sure. I have nothing from her, and even from his first wife, Chrissy. You know, like both of them. They're not selfish, because I honestly, maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like she did it because she knew I. Sorry.
You needed him. You needed him.
He knew, and he looks just like his dad.
He
has this spitting image of his father, where people think that all of them, my son Kane, Luke, and my son Cody, they look identical, to the point. Fun fact, I'll make this very short, but when we were doing the little, you know, get together for when my son did pass away,
right,
me and my youngest son Kane are sitting in the truck, and we're at the park, and one of my oldest son Cody's friends walks up. Now, mind you, this is in the middle of Macon with the gangs,
right,
who I will not say or deny if he is a gang member.
Right.
But very scary. He walks up and I almost thought he was going to, pull something on me, and he's mad. And he's like, how dare you? How can you do that? Why would you lie? Why would you? That's a sick joke. I'm like, what are you talking about? Cody's right there. I'm like, no, wait. I'm like, that's Kane.
Yeah.
He thought it was Cody. He thought I pulled a trick on him, that I said that my son passed away.
Because they look so much alike.
Yeah, because they look so much alike. But yeah, so that's really pretty much my story. I'm still on my journey. I do post a lot. I do make videos. I do go live a lot. I'm going to go live a lot more on Instagram and TikTok, which is Grace Ann, Angels and Outlaws.
Kenna will put all that. Can you put all her stuff on there too? Yeah, in your description. She'll put all that down there so everybody knows.
So yeah, anybody that wants to follow my journey, and you get to, sneak peek sometimes. Struggle, let me go live or, do a little video with him. He does,
Yeah, and you're local. We'll have to have you back, like you're back on your weight loss journey and stuff too.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, starting weight today is 265.
You can do it.
I know. I was 360, so I've lost 100.
Yep.
I lost 160.
Yep.
I gained back 60, and I have to, because me and
get back in the mindset.
Shai have to go to Turkey for my surgery, so I can't let him down.
Exactly.
I inspire him, so now he's got, he's inspiring me. I got to get back on it. So I felt so bad when he just posted it 2 days ago. I'm like, oh my God! But I did comment. I'm like,
goals. Now you have a cool goal to meet too.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what is in store for Struggle too, because we haven't dropped dates, but he does have a tour in the works.
Well, and movies soon. He's getting into everything.
Yeah, the movies.
I'm sure you'll be right along with him.
Oh yeah, I'm not going nowhere.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I have to tell this part. Okay. This is the most special thing in the whole world. Okay. With you saying that, you have to go with him. Okay, so we had a show in Virginia. Mm-hmm. Okay, now mind you, I had just worked with him for a year. Okay. It was my 1-year anniversary coming up, right? So Struggle gives all his team members an Angels and Outlaws chain. Okay, so this is the handcuff for the Outlaws, mm-hmm. and the angel wings for the Angel. And then this guy right here, it's a skull. It's there's only 5 that have the skull. It's a round one, and mm-hmm. the men have that because they're our protectors. Right. So I can't tell you who has them, but 5 of mm-hmm. our members have them. So anyway, he presents these to his team. So me and him had gone to Virginia for a show. It was just us. It was just me and him in the car. We drove there, So it was after the show, and I'm driving, getting him back to his hotel or whatever. And he gets very emotional too. And so we were talking, and I basically just said to him, I said, it's coming up on a year that I'm going to be with you. I said, and he was like, oh, you're going to be with me till the end. You need to be holding my hand, And I was like, I'm jumping in the casket, but, so, I said to him, I was like, I want permission on, for my year anniversary that, I can get I didn't have my chain. I said, I want to get the chain tattooed on me, so it'll be on me forever. He said, I'll do something better than that. And he takes his chain off his neck and he gives it to me. This is the very, very first chain that was made. Aww. It was his. And he's like, you can wear it and I'll order you one and I'll get you one. But when the new one came in, he let me keep this one. Keep it. Yeah. So he got the new one, and this is the original chain. Anybody touches this chain, I might go back to prison. Just so you know. But yeah, and that's it. That's a
lot. It's a lot. I'm sorry, but no, but it's just so good.
Thank you.
So good.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
to come blessed. Out on the other side,
like you having me here. I'm sorry to
no, just the way you came out on the other side, and then expect me to cry, and then meeting good people, to help you along.
Yeah.
It's like how
it ain't over yet.
But that's how it's supposed to be, you know? And it's
Yeah.
just so many people out there just don't help.
No, exactly.
And it's such a treasure when you find that.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, like I said, it's not just him, but it's his team, which is, you know, they brought me in as part of their team, you know, and then his wife and his kids.
Right.
And it's just, yeah.
I mean, that's a lot to open yourself up to, you know, like for him, for all of them.
Yeah.
Just
when I first moved here, there's so much more to that, but you'll just read it in my book. Book. But when I first, you know, got here, I had like this whole big thing with the parole, and they wouldn't let me come, and it was just a big thing. But anyway, so I was living in Gallatin, and so I can't tell you where he lives, but where he lives, it's like this one stretch. It's like 20 minutes. I say it's 20 minutes. He says it's only 7, but I feel like it's 20 minutes to do this one stretch to get down to his house. But so I was going like, you know, 20 times a day up and down this stretch or whatever. So I lived in Gallatin for 3 years. I renewed my lease 3 years because where he lives is, you know, he's got a mansion, you know, and it's kind of expensive where he lives. And but again, all glory to God. I didn't want to renew my lease, and I went looking where he lives, and I found a place. I live 3 streets away from him now, literally. Yeah. The number of his house, which I can't tell you, but the number of his house is the actual number of my house. So let's just say his number was 222. So his is 222, blah, blah, blah street. Mine's 222, blah, blah. I'm literally 3 streets.
Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's all
crazy.
God.
Yes.
All God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
You'll say that too. The numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, so, right? Like, what is the chances of his address being the same as my address, just different street, 3 streets over?
Because it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing. Like, it's an amazing story.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
And we're gonna have you back, though. We gotta before your surgery and all the things. We'll have to
struggle with me.
Well, we'll have to talk about yes.
Have him as my, you know. Yeah, I was there with him.
Right. Let's flip the switch once. Yeah.
Come watch me do my podcast, Struggle. Get some BTS.
Oh God, I love it.
Yeah, I call him Strug. So
is that his nickname?
Strug? No, everyone calls him Struggle. Taboo calls him William. You know, that's his government name.
Yeah.
But, I think a lot of people call him Strug. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
I call him Strug.
Well, you're awesome.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm turning inside out of inside.